Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on April 10th, 2024, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Janet Williams, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 8 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review have been posted on the town website. So to all participants, whether you're attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you have been recognized by the chair. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you're online and you're not a commissioner, we ask that you please keep your camera turned off until you've been recognized. You can indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. When recognized, please remember to identify yourself for the record. So that we have a record of a quorum attending today, I'll now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Karen Latin.
Present.
Bob Rawls.
Present.
Mary Sullivan.
I don't see her.
I do not see her online. She is not here, at least not yet. Elise Gordon.
Present.
Cheryl Maservi.
Present.
Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Associate Member Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
And I am here, so we've established that we have a quorum. Before we begin the agenda, I'll ask Paul Whiteman, the conservation agent, if there are any requests for continuances today.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Yes, we have one request for continuance. It's 70 Meadowview Road. The applicant's requested a continuance to April 24th. I'll read the legal ad when we get to it.
All right, thank you very much. So if you're here for 70 Meadowview Road, that's not going to be heard today. All right, Paul, so you can now please lead us through the agenda.
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. First on the agenda is a field change request. The address is 22 Captain Sears Way. The applicant is Philip A. Richardson, nominee trust. Map 11C, parcel H17, DEP number SE103354. The project is demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling, pool, patio, tree removal, and invasive area, and the request for the field change is to extend the retaining wall at the new driveway to stabilize the new bank.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here representing the project or online?
Hi, Susan Ledoux from Eastward Companies.
Yes, good afternoon, Susan.
Hi, my camera is not working for some reason, but I'll go ahead. I submitted to you, and I appreciate the commission considering this field change request today. I'm here from Eastward Companies, 422 Captain Sears Way, and we are, as you know, and I was before you back in the fall, asking for an extension to our order. And there, great, thank you. And we have been working at the site, completing the new home, pool patio, hardscape, and landscaping at the site. And we began the retaining wall installation at the driveway turnaround. And as you can see in the photo, we put in what was approved and found that we needed additional 15 linear feet of wall to hold back or stabilize new bank to install what I believe are the evergreens that were approved. And so we're requesting a field change to allow the 15-foot extension of the retaining wall along that driveway between the 50 and the 100-foot buffer area. And I've also attached a portion of the approved site plan so you can see where that would be located on the site and the site plan. And the proposed retaining wall will increase the site coverage in the 50 to 100-foot buffer area by 7.5 feet. But we feel the proposed change is an improvement to the site overall by decreasing any potential erosion to the slope, stormwater runoff, and to ensure the viability of the trees and other vegetation being planted in this area. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions? I don't have any. We went out there, some of us went out there and looked at it and said, don't know why it wasn't originally included. When you see it up close, and it's very steep, and you'll never get those cedars in without some retaining. Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, Susan, so that if that's going to be extended, that end portion of the wall, is that going to be cut back so the extension will be intertwined with the current wall?
Yes.
if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, Bob. Yep, that will, that portion will be removed once the two meet and join, so that it's not obstructing anything at that point.
Yeah, and it usually has to be staggered, so it's strong at that point.
Right,
If you just build
Right.
next to it, then you're gonna have some, it's gonna be a weak wall, in other words.
an open seam, yeah, we will thread it in, so to speak,
Yeah,
yes.
and are you gonna have any ground cover around those cedars, or is it just gonna be just mulch?
I imagine, I don't have the landscape plan in front of me, but I imagine that we'll have something that will also help anchor the soil in that area, other than just mulch. I have to take another look at it. I don't, as I said, I don't have the landscape plan in front of me. But I can
Okay.
check back on that and give an answer to Paul, if that will help.
Yeah, and what about the other end of the wall? It looks like it abruptly ends as well. You're not gonna have any issues at the other end?
Going toward the house, that side of it?
Yeah,
Okay, is that where you,
The left-
that's going back?
the left side of that picture, I mean, it's hard to see, but.
Yeah, there's another photo, and I see
There's another
where you're.
photo that you can see it better, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we'll do it, what we did at the end of the first photo. We'll bring it back so that it will retain what is in that area.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if you could add some ground cover, I'm not sure what's noted in the original planting plan, but the ground cover might kind of hold that soil as well, you know, around those cedars as well as around the wall itself.
okay, yeah, I'll talk with the project supervisor, and again, I'll let Paul know what will be done out there.
Yeah, maybe some bearberry or something like that.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Other questions, comments? All right, I think we're ready for a motion to approve the field change.
I move that we approve a field change for 22 Captain Sears Way.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so that's approved. Thank you, Susan.
Hey, thanks so much, have a good day.
You too. All right, Paul, ready to move on to the next?
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. Next on the agenda is a request for a determination of applicability. The address is 24 Pine Ridge, Russell and Nancy Young, map 8C, parcel S41, R-247. Project remove existing 12 by 12 house section and remove existing 12 by 16 deck. Construct 21 by 15.5 addition with 15.5 feet entry porch at the driveway side of the house. Construct a 17 by 12 deck and storage basement and 17 by 12 deck on open tube and post foundation at the rear of the foundation as proposed for the addition. That's the project.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dan Crudo from Moran Engineering, here for the Youngs.
Turn on your, you have to, there you go.
That one? This is different than last time, huh? It's nice.
Yeah, you better start again.
Okay, Dan Croto from Moran Engineering here for the owners, Russell and Nancy Young, on their petition to do an addition to their single-family house at 24 Pine Ridge Road. This is a property that's mapped out on the very limit of the 100-year floodplain on the 2014 maps, which were based on, I believe, 2011 USGS LiDAR. Since then, there's been more accurate LiDAR after post-Sandy, and then just recently 2021 LiDAR, which is real accurate. But having said that, I just think this would have not made their maps if they had the newer LiDAR. But with our field, our ground survey matches the LiDAR survey, and the area itself where the addition is above the floodplain elevation. So reading through the definitions of the resource through the WPA, it wouldn't meet their recommendation because they just refer to the flood level, but with the, obviously with the Chathams, it refers to the map itself. The map has a line on it, but it also has an elevation. So it meets it would be within the line, but not the elevation. So it was confusing enough where I certainly thought an RDA was warranted. I'm also doing research, pulling the site plan from 2020 of the neighboring down gradient number 14 Pine Ridge Road. They clearly show the edge of floodplain not getting to this property line, so it matches up with our survey and the recent USGS RDA survey. Having said that, the building code takes the floodplain, adds a foot, so we know, and the architect knows that any construction has to meet the floodplain requirements in the building code. But as far as we were looking for your review that this property wouldn't impact the floodplain itself, and this area is actually above the floodplain, and it certainly doesn't meet the criteria of a coastal bank by the floodplain, by the WPA, so it's certainly not a sediment source. So again, it's just on the very outer limit of the map floodplain, but when we do a field survey, we show it is not in the floodplain. So we just wanted a review of the board so it could move ahead to the next step of permitting.
Okay, thank you. So on the site plan where I'm seeing just touching the property line, elevation 11, is that the outer limit then of the floodplain?
That would be the outer limit of the floodplain elevation.
Okay, and then that lighter dotted line that you're showing through the property is what the floodplain map shows?
That's the floodplain map, correct.
Okay,
And we've run into this quite a bit on the outer limits of floodplain, is that it's not accurate, but there is a procedure for flood insurance to amend, to get a written letter,
Yeah.
but you can't, but an actual map itself that the map itself doesn't change.
right. So, but are your clients currently required to pay for the flood insurance because the map is showing the property in the floodplain?
I don't know if they have flood insurance, as in if you have a federal backed mortgage, you need flood insurance.
Yeah.
But like I say, the building, because the current building code says you take the floodplain elevation, then you add a foot, and anything within that area needs to
Okay.
be floodplain compliant.
All right, so under the
Project.
building code, they'll be entitled to get a building permit. The fact that the
Yeah,
floodplain
they
map
just
is
need
showing them in the
to-
floodplain doesn't stop that.
It has no effect on that.
Okay.
They'll still need to meet the requirements for construction in a floodplain.
Oh, they
But-
do?
Which is your floor needs to basically be a walkout.
Right.
Your floor needs to be above floodplain level, or in this case, the floor itself will be above floodplain level. And that's about it, because it'll be
Okay,
foundational.
so we looked into how land subject to coastal storm flow, which is delineated, the requirements that we are to adhere to. Yes, floodplain maps are the first place we are directed to look, but that is not the beginning nor the end of the inquiry. We should also been instructed to look at the flood insurance study for the town of Chatham, which we did, as well as field observations and engineering data. So that's where we're looking at this point with what you're submitting. So I want to ask you, when you said there's a 2021 LiDAR, more recent, how was that done? Who did that? Is there?
That was also USGS, and that would be, the contours that are shown on this map were from the 2020. So where we have elevation 11 shown on the map, which is the floodplain, that's actually from the 2021
Okay,
LiDAR.
okay. It gets quite close, you know, I look at the existing basement floor is at 11.1. That is,
Yeah, it's extremely close.
yeah, but that was the only one I saw that was that close. Everything else is above 11. So,
In the whole,
and so you're not going to be pursuing a letter of map revision from FEMA or anything like that to ask them to change the map?
I don't think so at this point. I don't think it would affect the building code because, like I say, the building code takes the floodplain and adds a foot to it.
Yeah.
So it can get real confusing, trying to do, in the long run, if they're trying to reduce their flood insurance, we may look at it, but that has not been.
Or if the property ever changes hands,
The
it probably would
property
come up.
changes hands, so.
Okay, let me ask questions over here. No? Questions?
My only question is, you have to apply to ZBA, correct?
Correct.
And you have not done that yet?
No, I don't believe that Attorney Litchfield has applied. I think he was
Okay.
waiting on this.
Can we approve an
Yeah.
RDA with,
It's an RDA, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not only,
What if it
only
changes?
orders are required to wait,
okay,
yeah.
just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you.
Other questions, comments? No? All right, then.
I got one, Jim.
Okay, go. Yep.
The spruce you're gonna be removing, correct?
Correct.
That's probably pretty rough shape anyway.
It was leaning, and the owner is open to planting another tree. I told him that the commission may require that. I don't know how it goes with, but the owners, I should say, are well aware the commission may require it. I don't know if RDAs get any type of conditions in Chatham, but if there is a method.
I think it would be helpful. I mean, it would absorb some water. So, yeah, sure. I mean, if there's room or if there's another piece of the property where you can plant.
Yeah, I think we were looking back by the shed area, between the shed and the lot line when I was at the property.
And also the Cruiser dogwood, that's gonna remain, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's a nice tree. You gonna put anything around it to protect it before you start construction?
I don't know. We could certainly add that to the plan, some sort of protection around it, but I was leaving it up to the landscape guys to protect it, but I know the owner, it is, important to the owner. So I'm sure
Maybe even
they'll
just snow
protect it
fence or
somehow.
something like that around it, with some stakes. And then there's a little blue spruce next to the wall, a little dwarf blue spruce. I don't know if you've noticed that at all, by the steps leading down to the back.
I saw it.
That's a nice little plant.
Is it between the dogwood and the steps, in that direction, or towards?
Yeah, by the brick wall, like in that bed there,
Oh, up in,
up above, yeah.
in between the two walls?
Yes, yeah.
Sounds like, if it's in between those two walls, it must be small enough where it could be moved?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly add these notes to the plan.
Yeah.
It goes to ZBA, because I don't think they've filed yet with ZBA.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Anything? And I think we're ready for Paul has advised us as a -4, because the determination is it is not in a protected resource area.
Yes, Madam Chair, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
Nope,
No.
nope, we're good.
Okay, yeah, so you have -3, which is in the buffer zone, or -4. I mean, he's made a good argument, he's done his field survey, the reference to the 2021 maps, we're only talking about the LOMAR being relevant when you're dealing with flood insurance. So he stated in his cover letter, you know, the coastal bank isn't playing a role in storm damage prevention, flood control, or sediment source. We don't necessarily care about the 10-to-1 slope within our regulation. Having said all that, yeah, -4 would be appropriate in this case if you're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay. I move that we approve a request for determination of applicability with a -4 determination for 24 Pine Ridge Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
All right, thank you.
Nomination. Thank you. All right, Paul, what's next?
Next, moving right along, 789 Fox Hill Road, Robert, I'm sorry, this is a RDA as well. 789 Fox Hill Road, Robert, CI Chipinelli.
Chipinelli.
I'm sorry, I really can't pronounce it.
Chipinelli,
Map
he just
12L
said.
Chipinelli.
Okay, apologize. Map 12L, parcel 5-10, R24-8. The project, proposed elevated deck and shed.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So my name is Diego. I work with BDL Construction. I'm here to represent the homeowners. Mr. Chipinelli is online as well.
Okay, I see.
And I'll be happy to bring some answers for the project.
So can you, so there, we have two site plans. I don't see a date. I guess it is, no? Yeah, February 2024, done by BSC Group. And I guess there's another one that is attached in the filing, but there's a little bit different. One shows the location of a shed and the other does not have the shed on it.
Uh-huh.
So which one, yeah, okay, so you have,
So we're going to be,
this one does not show, this is, yeah, okay. The one where, that is being shown now does not show a proposed shed.
so the one with the shed is the updated one.
Okay,
Okay? My
Yeah.
apologies for that
in the
confusion.
RDA filing itself. Same thing, but just
You have this big, beautiful one that
the
the
shed.
shed's not on it.
Right,
And then you have a little tiny one that has a shed on it.
all right, hang on, we'll get it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, fine. Well, let me just make a note. Where you are proposing to put the shed is right on the line of the 50-foot buffer from the resource area, which is the no-disturb zone. And that's, can you move it back away from, further away from that line? There we go. Okay, so you see where the shed is proposed, and there is, right next to it, the 50-foot no-disturb zone. That's very close to that, to protected area. Can it be moved closer up toward the house, out of that, away from that area further?
Definitely. How far would you recommend? Like,
As far as you can move it away from there,
Yeah.
would be preferable.
so like, if you go to, if you go like a couple feet more, I think we still have like a comfortable step to build the shed. But if you go too high, way too far, it's gonna be like a little tough to do the construction because it's very uneven. So that's why we proposed on that spot.
Because it's flatter.
Yes, because it's flatter, so we can play better with the cinder blocks, because we're not gonna do any footings for it. We're just gonna build over the blocks, so it's the easiest spot to do the construction.
I see. I'm just comparing that to the elevation lines shown. I see how it slopes up away from the wetland area. But any further back that is possible and feasible within the realm of your construction would be appreciated.
Okay.
Get it away from there. Can you explain, does the deck wrap around the two sides of the house? Is that what's proposed?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So the deck is gonna be 40 foot on the back side, wrapping to the side of the house, which is 22, considering the house size, plus 7 feet that we're gonna extend towards the conservation line. The house, it's built partially over the conservation line already. So the only disturb that we're gonna have on the soil will be the footings, which we're gonna be digging manually. We're gonna do 12 inches diameter sonotubes, which we're gonna fill with the concrete. That's gonna be mixed manual as well.
And how many sonotubes are there total?
So there are 10 sonotubes, 6 gonna be on the back side, and I believe 2 of them, it's out of the conservation already on the side of the house.
Let me get the right plan so I can see. Yes, there's the 100-foot line. I think that's the 100-foot line. Yeah, okay. Right, goes right through the house. Yeah, I see, okay. Okay, so the only disturbance is, on the land, is the installation of the sonotubes.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And the cinder blocks that the shed will sit on, does the shed involve any excavation or foundation or anything?
No, not for the shed. We're just gonna literally just sit the cinder blocks, and we're gonna build over the cinder blocks.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let me open it up to questions from commission members.
I have just, I have one quick question.
Yep, Cheryl's quicker than you guys.
Underneath the deck, currently there's just a couple concrete pavers. Are you putting anything else under the deck as far as on the ground, or is it just going to be grass seed, or what are you putting underneath?
No, we're not gonna do anything underneath the deck. Literally, what we're gonna do is just the excavation for the footings. And there is a paver there already,
Yeah.
but it was done previously, so I don't know much about it. But personally, like, our company not gonna do anything with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Eric.
Off the deck, where do you step down? Just on the side, on the south side?
Yeah, the front of the house, it's even with the ground.
Right.
So that's the only spot that we're gonna have a step down, but
Step
there's no
down to
access.
the bank or step down off to the side?
It's towards the road,
Oh, yeah, okay.
towards the road. So that's gonna be literally just a step down. On the back side, we have like about 8 footers elevation, but as the land goes down, once you wrap with the deck, you're gonna be like just a step down on the front.
Yeah, it would probably help the banking, believe it or not. I mean, there's a lot of erosion. But I noticed that there's not much for the imagination. They're pretty much mowing everything. I mean, that property actually has been the same way it was in the early 80s, I remember, being in that neighborhood, working. But, you know, maybe in trade, on the line of leaving a section of the bank, you've got 2 accesses. You got left and right going down. I know it's been like that for 100 years. But, you know, for a mitigation purpose, in my opinion, it would be nice to leave a section of the bank alone. Maybe in the middle, leaving the 2 accesses on each side still, because it's been used for 50 years that way, but to, you know, lessen the mowing.
Yeah, so what we're proposing, there is a walkway on the front of the house. So that step down on the front of the deck, it's gonna literally connect to the walkway on the front of the house.
I know, I'm not talking about construction, I'm talking about the ongoing mowing that's, the whole banking is being mowed. And I'd like to see, personally, I would like to see a section of it left alone as a mitigation purpose.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Can we add that to the RDA, Paul? It's not,
Yes, I think so.
okay. We'll include that condition.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I had the same reaction that Eric did. When I saw the property, it's mowed all the way down to the water. It's just mowed everywhere. This is really the reason the Wetlands Protection Act was developed in the first place. But nevertheless, this is being submitted as an RDA. So we can't really put many conditions on it at all. So, you didn't offer any mitigation for it. I'm trying to think of some similar projects that we've had where we,
No mitigation on RDAs.
I know, but a project that, actually, what you're looking at here, I only get this in digital form. I'm not one of the people who get the paper copies. It's so blurry, I really can't tell what's what. So I'm sort of hampered. I'm a bit hampered, and I don't even know where the resource line is going on.
I have some side pictures here that may help you guys to visualize if you want it.
Well, your large plan is great. You can see everything,
Okay.
except the shed, but,
Okay.
but I saw the shed staked out.
Okay.
So, I mean, we come across this question occasionally, does the deck require mitigation? You know, you can argue that it does, you can argue that it doesn't, because water goes through, but yet it's shading things and so forth. And we've often been offered mitigation for decks. If we were to ask that some mowing stop, we need to get a little more specific, I think, about where and how much for it to be useful.
Well, I
Which
think
is
that-
difficult to do in an RDA.
Outside of the RDA context, mowing naturalized vegetation on a coastal bank is a violation of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw and regulations, so we could also issue something that responds to that, a notice of violation that requires a cessation of any further mowing on the coastal bank. That would take it outside of the RDA context.
Right. It'll all grow back. I mean, you don't need to replant or mitigate, just
Leave it alone.
leave it alone, it'll grow back.
Okay. Yeah.
Paul, does that strike you as a feasible way of resolving this?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, we face there's many of these properties in town, too many to count, that have been going on for decades. So it's a
Yep.
difficult situation, as you've mentioned that before, Janet. So yeah, I think we could handle it that way. I would say, you know, you can condition an RDA, you've done it in the past, but it would be an appropriate way to handle it, I think.
Which, to condition it or to issue a notice violation and a requirement to cease the mowing?
I think the latter.
Okay, that seems better to
because,
me. It's more,
as
it's
you know, the
addressing what's
condition-
happening. It's not,
Yeah. The
Packaging
condition's
something-
going to be limited to a 3-year period, doesn't get, recorded, get ongoing, so it's going to expire at some point.
okay, right.
Can I-
So, yes, go ahead.
And we
So
just,
Commissioner,
the
since this is
owners,
the homeowner, can I
oh yeah, I
speak
was
up?
going to say, the homeowner's on the line, can we just ask him not to do this anymore?
Well,
Or do we
So
have
can
to
I-
cite
can I
him for
give you-
something?
yes, go ahead, sir.
Can I make a statement, please? This is
Yes, you
Rob
may, go
Cipriani.
ahead. And just,
Thank you. Just for the record, I have been familiar with this property for over 40 years. My parents live 2 doors down. I have known the former owner of this property for a very long time, and this property is highly comparable to the way it was, with one statement that's very important. We have removed four Jeep loads of rubbish from that backyard, including old line, old cable, old lobster pods. We have tried to clean up the property. If there's anything in particular the commission would like us to do, I like the natural wooded property.
Yep.
We're letting it come back. We've removed extensive rubbish from this property.
well, we thank you for that, sir. That is a laudable thing to do, and that serves the interests of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and we agree that at this point, with all of that having been done, the best thing to do with that area is just to let it naturalize again and go back to what nature intended there. So if you receive something from us that has the word violation in it, don't overreact, don't get upset. It's just the only way we can say, make sure that that area perfectly naturalizes and does not get further mowing, okay?
I understand.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
Just something quick. The sonotubes, when you dig those out, what's going to happen to the excess soil?
We can either take your advice for it. Some of them we're going to use for the backfill, but if you guys think that's the best way to do it, removing out of the site, we're open to it.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, then.
What negative?
Paul, please advise, this would be a negative, this is in the buffer zone, so 2?
It's buffer zone, it's 3.
3, thank you.
Yep.
Someday we'll get that right.
I'll, for the gentleman who owns it, I'll work with him on, the bank issue.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll work together on it.
Mr. Chiapinelli, Paul will be in touch with you to talk about the bank and work that out with you. Okay,
Very good, thank you.
thank you. Okay.
I move that we approve the request for determination of applicability with a -3 determination for 789 Fox Hill Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye, that's approved. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
You too, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Paul, where do we go next?
Well, we're moving on to submitted request to amend an order of conditions. This is the first phase. Address 500 Shore Road, Stephen and Stacy Barton, map 16G, parcel A5, DEP number SE10 36,
Easement.
excuse me, 3645. Bank stabilization amendment to construct and maintain beach access stairs and placement of a portable rinse station. That's the project. First
happening?
phase,
Nope.
don't need a lot of time, I think, or just,
Nope, this is phase one, so yes. Hello,
Yep.
sir.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicants and property owners for this project. I believe the majority of you, if not all of you, were present when this project was first presented before this board last fall. The applicant proposed the shoreline stabilization as well as the beach access from the property developed site to the beach by means of a constructed timber stair. That project was revised at the time in the fall to eliminate the activity of construction of the stairs and just concentrate on the stabilization of the bank. The reason was there was some conflicting information with some of the abutters that have an easement on the property. And because we wanted to get this shoreline stabilization as soon as possible before the winter, we proceeded with removal of the stairs at the time. So this shoreline stabilization notice of intent was approved and a notice of condition was issued back in October. The applicant is now before you to amend that order of conditions to reintroduce the stairs that was part of the original application for that project or for their overall project. So the stairs are roughly spanning 125 feet over buffer zone, coastal bank, and down to reach the beach. Portion of these stairs, or a good half portion of the stairs, kind of goes over the restoration that was done just recently in this winter by Wilkinson Ecological for the shoreline stabilization and planting of the eroded coastal bank. The rest of the stairs is very a minor portion that is just in the buffer zone. The majority of it is within the coastal bank. The last step of the stairs reach the beach. That section of the beach is part of the reinforced salt marsh construction that was done by Wilkinson Ecological. The stairs are proposed to align with the existing clear pathway. It is off the ground, so it allows for some growth to happen underneath the stairs. 4 foot wide. It goes from approximately elevation 59, close to the retaining wall behind the pool, to roughly elevation 6 along the toe of the bank. So basically that's the work. It's 532 square feet of proposed stairs to access the beach. In the audience with us tonight is attorney Bill Litchfield, who filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I believe in attendance through the remote access is attorney Adam Sager. If there's any particular questions that they have to assist me with. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, do you want to?
Very briefly, Madam Chairman, Bill Litchfield, as Raul has said, and just wanted to emphasize that this was part of the original proposal, as you will recall. And we withdrew it in order to get the Wilkinson ecological work done before the winter. So we are back on, which should not be a surprise. We're simply asking for permission to amend, as you know.
Right, thank you very much. And thank you for all this information. It's a bit more than we need at this moment. This is just phase one of the two-phase process to request to amend an order of conditions. The first phase, there's only one question that we need to decide, and that's whether what's being proposed is sufficiently related to the project that was approved to qualify as an amendment, or whether it's so different that it needs a different NOI for it. Obviously, since this was part of the project that was originally proposed and was removed, I think, at least in my view, it's pretty clear that it's closely related. So that first question, we're going to vote on that in a few minutes, but we will have to put out a separate public notice and have a separate hearing to get into the detail. So you'll have to come back and do a lot of what you've just done before, but thank you for that. But I think we can give you a couple of notes of some advice when you come back about what we would look for, since you've thoughtfully provided all this already. The portable rinse station conceptually is a little bit problematic, but we can deal with that. But the location is in the mitigation area that was approved for, I think it was the pool project. So that needs to find a different spot, and I would suggest, my own view would be to put it on the pool deck. But it's currently in a mitigation area, so that's a non-starter. I think I would advise you to see if you could shrink up the size of that bottom landing. It's 4 foot, but 4 foot plus 4 foot plus 2 feet. So I think it's 14 feet in length, which is really a deck down there. I mean, I know for safety, and I know it's a very steep bank and it's very long, and you do need a landing of some sort, but it does feel, with a built-in storage area, to be a bit larger than it needs to be, and can end up being used to hold lounge chairs and become a deck off the beach, and that's not what the intended use of that is. And my last comment would be, there is impact from this that was not figured into mitigation from before, so we would need to see some sort of mitigation proposed, 500 and something square feet, roughly. 532, thank you, to compensate for the impact of this, because there is impact even though it's elevated, it's shading, and, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be my advice when you come back we get to the phase two. But let me see if anybody else has any helpful commentary.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get too far into phase two here, but I think there are 36 support posts, each with a downlighting. Whichever posts are in the resource area should ideally not have lighting, but if they do have lighting, one approach we've used in the past is to make sure that they're on a timer, because you don't want those left on all night in an area where wildlife are going to be trying to make a living at night. And everything that Janet said, I agree with. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
My major question was the rinse stations, and you covered that.
Badly located rinse station, yep.
You covered all of mine.
Okay, questions? Go ahead, Eric.
My only thought is where do you mitigate? What's left? That's my only thought.
That is a good question, but some creative solution can be found. Cheryl, Bob?
What was I going to say?
You want me to ask a question?
Yeah, go.
Have we sorted out the right-of-way easement for is there going to be a move to put another path or stairway along the lot line for the other people across the street, or has that been sorted out?
I'm not sure it's been sorted out precisely, but I think that is something that could be addressed in phase two. The issue today, as the chair has said, is simply the first step.
Okay, thank you.
Janet, I remembered now.
Okay, go.
I'm all set now, I think. Underneath the stairway, you say it's high enough so that some plants may grow. Is it possible to put more shade-tolerant type of plantings underneath the stairway so that bank doesn't erode any further?
Yeah, so if I could
Yes, go ahead.
probably answer some of that. So early, well, not early, but last fall, when the project was first introduced, one of the offsets for mitigation that we're proposing is the shoreline stabilization, the planting of the eroded bank, and also seeding underneath the stairs with the adequate seed mixture of native seed grasses that would take off and also help retain the soils within this coastal bank.
Okay.
Yeah, from my experience, and it's the beach grass, once it takes off, I think it's gonna probably kill everything. It's gonna overpower the plants in the future that are on that bank, so it spreads pretty good.
Yeah, and last time, Wilkinson Ecological made the presentation and they compared it to the property next door, which they actually did the very same technique on shoring up the eroding bank. And it has taken, and it looks very lush, and natural vegetation and wildlife are taking advantage of the situation. So that's what we intend this is gonna be like. And I believe last week there was a COC for this property on an open permit from like 14 or 10 years ago. There was an old attempt to shore up the bank, and it kind of didn't work. But the shoreline that was just installed, the stabilization that was installed, is working good. There's a bit of the sand that was washed away through some of these winter storms, but that's to be expected. Part of the plan is there's going to be some beach sand nourishment over the coral logs. But eventually, once the vegetation takes hold, there should be very little maintenance from then on, unless a major storm hits the area.
And maybe additional mitigation could be installed in the beds on the front of the property, even within the 100-foot buffer. There's some foundation area that could be planted with native plants, and maybe beyond that as well, in the front foundation plantings.
Okay. Go ahead, go. I have one too. No, I just, I noticed that the stairway ends at the start of where Wilkinson is putting in the reinforced salt marsh. So is foot traffic going to go through that salt marsh, or should the walkway be elevated over it, or how's that salt marsh protected from?
So I don't expect everybody to remember the description of what that is made of, but it's kind of like stone in
Yeah.
a cage.
Yeah.
And it's very solid. It is covered with some sand, and the sand will blow in and out, but it's completely covered, so it's a
But
pretty
it's
good hard
planted, right, with
surface.
salt marsh
Right.
grasses?
So
right?
the intent was that there was going to be a path allowed without planting on top of that to reach the beach.
I see, a path going, okay.
Right, similar to what was agreed to within the right-of-way. If you recall, one of the last changes that was done for the approved order of condition was that within the right-of-way, there was a section of 4 feet down the middle of the right-of-way that was not going to be planted. So that will be something similar at the bottom of the stairs. There's going to be a path to
Okay.
allow people to walk through.
Okay, so we don't have a conflict with foot traffic and the salt marsh plants, okay.
And we would expect, Madam Chairman, members, restriction that foot traffic be within that path. That was
Yes.
part of what we discussed last winter.
Yep, we would absolutely put that in the amended order. Okay, go ahead.
Since we've opened up the box, I do have a question. The green part that's near the pool, that's the previous mitigation area that was supposed to be restored, as I recall?
So right, at the first and second hearing last fall, we found that prior orders of condition require mitigation. However, the mitigation plantings in the area were not really maintained, and they were dying off, and it was actually lacking some plantings. So part of that application with the order condition was kind of pulling in that order of condition, which was order of condition 1022.
Well, let me,
78.
let me ask, my real question is, has that been done?
So this order is still open, the one from last fall. So this application for new plantings will take place. We just want to hold off until this amendment, because we don't want to trample over new plantings.
Okay.
We're going to be building this.
That explains why it's all bare then, okay. Okay, good, that clears that up. The only last question is that you've got a rent station on the property already, right?
Right. This one is a portable one for when coming out of the beach onto the property to rinse their feet before making it to the property.
Okay. We've had other projects where there has been a request for 2 rent stations, and we've actually turned that down. So I'm going to be asking hard questions about why you need 2 rent stations when you come back, just to let you know. All right, thanks.
So maybe more specification on what exactly that is, as well as specifications on the downlighting that's proposed would be helpful. Anybody have anything else? All right, then we'll take a motion to approve the, oh, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is TJ Hurry, and I'm an associate attorney from Saney and Associates. I'm filling in today for attorney Chris Saney, and together we represent the homeowners from Aunt Lydia's Way neighborhood across from the subject property. I believe Greg and Heather Butler may be participating online today. There was some discussion this afternoon about the easement and the status of our clients and discussions. I don't want to go into private conversations through counsel, but I can tell you that it hasn't entirely been resolved at this point. I know that there were representations, or at least comments made during the hearing last week. I did review the video, that perhaps things have been worked out, and that isn't quite the case at this period in time. But our clients do remain open to a collaborative effort with the Brayertons. I also thought it was important to attend today's meeting to let the commission know that in the event that a collaborative effort cannot be reached with the Brayertons, our clients have engaged an engineering firm, and we are looking toward possibly finalizing plans and submitting them to the commission for use of the easement as it shows on the plan here, that 10-foot wide access easement to the south. I want to thank you for your time today, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you very much for coming. Good to know, and would expect it'll be at least several weeks before we are scheduled for the Phase 2 hearing. So if things change in the interim, we'll be happy to have an update and a status report as to what the conversations are at that point, and see how close things are to being resolved one way or the other.
Thank you, and I appreciate your comments today.
Thank you. All right, ready for a motion for the Phase 1?
I move that we approve Phase 1 for an amended order of conditions for 500 Shore Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary? She said aye. Okay. Crystal, yeah, you can just caught that Mary has arrived. And I vote aye, so that's been approved, and we will see you back here for Phase 2. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Paul, where do we go next?
Okay, Madam Chair, we're now moving on to submitted notices of intent applications. The first one is the continuance. I'll just read it. 70 Meadowview Road, Kyle and Patricia Lissick, map 10D, parcel 16-S15, DEP number SE103668. The proposed project is an addition, proposed attached garage, and proposed deck construction, including mitigation. And again, the applicant's requested a continuance to April 24th, 2024.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we continue 70 Meadowview Road South for a notice of intent on April 24th, 2024.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. All right, what's next, Paul? Revised. Paul? Paul?
Paul, you there?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair. Sorry for the delay. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent, 62 Chase Street, Cara Manganoni, map 16C, parcel 54C7. DEP number is not in yet. I will look it up, but expansion of existing deck and relocate and replace generator.
Good afternoon,
Good
Madam
afternoon.
Chairman. None of us is Tom Stello.
Okay.
Would you like me to begin and
Yes,
explain why I'm
please.
here? Bill
Yes, I'm
Litchfield,
interested.
here on behalf of the applicants who regrettably could not be here in person, but I think Cara Maggioni may be with us virtually. Tom Stello had a conflict, an unexpected one. But Michael Tanis and Teresa Sprague from Blue Flax are here. We filed with, or Tom filed with your board, I believe some time ago, the plans that Michael can talk about today, which address the 700-odd square feet of mitigation sort of at the north point of the property adjacent to the salt marsh. Which insofar as I know, because again, I'm filling in for Tom, that was the remaining aspect that in which the commission was interested.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we're just struggling to get the plan on the video. Okay, you're back. Okay, thank you. Hi, Tom. Hello. Oh, no, Michael, sorry.
Hi, Mike Tanis, Blue Flax Design.
Yep. So we last heard you on the 6th of March. We continued to today. I think we did receive a revised mitigation plan. You just want to walk us through?
Sure, so
Okay.
on the northern end of the property, we're, right along the top of the salt marsh, we're proposing 795 square feet of mitigation. Currently, it's now maintained as Cape Cod lawn and mowed. And so we're proposing replacing that lawn with a seed mix of native grasses and wildflowers and 26 shrubs of, Baccharis and bayberry. The lower edge of the mitigation area right along the salt marsh is also wet, and I believe that it will refill naturally with salt marsh vegetation as it stops getting mowed. So, pretty straightforward. That was our portion.
Okay, thank you. And just see my note here from last time. ZBA has approved you. You are all set to go. All right, questions or comments on the revisions submitted? I think they've done everything we asked.
I just have
Go ahead, Bob.
I just have a comment, Janet. It's the same situation with the mowed lawns is present here, just like the other site that we discussed on Fox Hill Road. So I'd like to see some of the mowing stopped in this area. You know, we're right in the coastal bank here, so I think a lot of this mowing should halt.
I'm sorry, Bob, which area specifically?
It's right along the end of the, right along the marsh. There's a lot of area that's being mowed currently. Where this black line is, a lot of this area is all mowed.
Is that on the coastal bank, Bob?
Yeah, it looks like it, because there's the 50 starts
The 50,
by the house.
yep.
So, even next to the mitigation area, that's all mowed currently. So I'd like to see a lot of the mowing stop.
The area to the north of the mitigation area, there is no mowing. It's all currently Baccharis and salt marsh.
Yeah, just to the right, near that fence, that post and rail fence, that's all mowed too.
Is it clear enough where the coastal bank is located so that if the order specifies as a condition that no further mowing on the coastal bank, would that be sufficient?
I think it might be helpful
I
for the
certainly-
homeowner to have the area identified on a plan, because of the challenges with this lot and the number of different setback issues, the flood zone, the coastal bank, the top of the coastal bank, I think some specificity would be helpful.
Then we get into demarcation issues, but
See, this
I'm looking at something different than what's showing here. What do you have?
Well, this map shows lawn going from here, here. So the gray area looks to be, is the gray area is what you're talking about, Bob? The gray area?
It's shown as lawn.
Yeah, okay. It's designated as lawn on the plan.
The area of mitigation is very clearly delineated on the site with, there's rock walls on the upland side, and then the area to the right with the lawn that you're talking about is upslope, and then there's like a 2-foot slope drop, and then that whole lower area will be is the proposed mitigation area. So I don't see.
Can I just say something? I look at things in small victories. This is one victory at a time. I mean, this is an excellent location for mitigation. It was an area that was mowed. I think the only problem is we'd have to go back and mark the areas of the mowing and come back again. That's my concern.
Well, we would certainly be happier with approval today and not having to come back, Mr. Hilbert. So,
Right.
and I would echo your comment that I think, given the historic use of the property since the house was built 50 years ago, the 700 or almost 800 square feet of mitigation is
That
a
shows a stone wall.
significant improvement in exchange for the small expansion of the deck. And in
Yep.
terms of demarcation, whether it be done by I don't want to call them granite posts, but by granite pavers on end or something like that, I think, we can certainly accommodate in that regard.
Well, the plan is showing this plan here. This is.
Yeah, there is a wall there now, but
Right,
if there's more
there's a-
concern, I don't know what else we could do.
Yeah, no, it is all, but, yeah, and but the wall curves over and there is approved that
Along
AE
the
zone.
right or east side,
Yeah.
I guess it would be.
yeah. Is it the area that you're concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, even to have a discussion with the homeowner and see if they can eliminate some mowing, and that would be helpful.
I will pass that concern along, and again, as I think Ms. Maggioni may be with us, but perhaps not, but we will convey that thought.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do I?
No, I think she's on, and I think she might think she's speaking. Because it keeps flashing.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, yes, hello.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm sorry, this is Kara Majoni. I am on. I'm just echoing what Bill and Mike were saying. I'm a little confused about where the proposed request for cessation of mowing is. If it's behind the garden box, I think that we're certainly not opposed to that. We would prefer that, as Bill said, if approval can be given in this meeting, that is very much appreciated. But we do appreciate and want that area to be naturalized.
Okay, that's helpful to know. I think we are aiming to get this approved today so that we can have an order. And what we're casting about for is how to incorporate something like that into an order has enough clarity that the homeowner understands what it is that we're saying. And
Without putting Ms. Maggiani on the spot, and Kara, if you can see what's on our screen, the letters SFHA Zone AE. Bob, is that the area that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's one of them, yeah.
So if you can see that, Kara, that is the area where Mr. Del Vecchio has suggested that mowing be ceased.
Yes, and if that is the area, then that is acceptable to me. That's going to be consistent with that area.
yeah. Yeah, because that area is bordered by both the stone wall and the raised garden, so getting a mower back there is not an easy thing necessarily anyway, so.
Mr. Hilbert can do it.
Exactly.
He can, but yeah.
Well, actually, you stated before you had to go through the neighbor's
Right. yeah.
property to mow that section.
Right.
I would
Okay.
love to move this along. I think.
Okay, this plan is sufficiently detailed that we'll incorporate it into the order and just have a no mowing in that area that's behind the stone wall, behind the garden.
Okay.
And you can feel free to put it whatever wildflowers or other things that are wonderful in there that you can admire. Native, of course, goes without saying.
I think that would
Absolutely.
probably, I'm just eyeballing it, but I think we would probably end up with something nearly doubling the size of the mitigation. We'd end up with about 1,500 square feet. Not that that's a bad thing.
It's not a bad
but-
thing.
But if we
Very-
come back for something in the further, we
That's
know
very
that you- in the
generous.
We may
future,
know
you'll
that we owe you
You'll
one.
know and you'll recall it.
We will remember that.
Lovely to note.
All right, then, I think we are ready to continue this to the 24th, which is the next hearing, for an order of conditions.
I move that we continue 62 Chase Street to the meeting on April 24th, 2024 for an order of conditions.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. We'll see you
Thank you
back
very
here on
much.
the 24th. Thank you. All right. Okay, Paul, what's next?
Oh, boy.
Salt Pond. 26. Oh, what am I doing on January 10th hearing? No.
Sorry,
wonder I can't
I'm
find
here.
that. Okay,
Ready?
yep.
Okay,
We are
next on
ready.
the agenda is notice of intent, 26 Salt Pond Road, 26 Salt Pond Road LLC, map 17J, parcel 9-1. There is no DEP number issued yet. Extension of an existing stone revetment.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Bob Perry, Cape Cod Engineering is representing 26 Salt Pond LLC, the Holmes family. You're probably familiar with this property. There's been a lot of things going on here over the years. What we have is a very exposed property at the tip of Minister's Point going south. The revetment on the water side wraps around the south end of the point. And of course, I didn't bring a plan on a board, but I think you have it right here on your screen. And as we come around the bend and we begin to head north, there's no protection for the bank where the revetment abruptly terminates. If we go about another 100 feet, we get to a location where the driveway turnaround, I think beginning around 2007, improvements began to be done there where it was elevated. Those elevated fills were confined with fiber products that were basically built and integrated into the higher grass deposits above the salt marsh. And this zone between those two items, the revetment and the I think, fairly sturdy embankment for the driveway, that area has been kind of ravaged by the changes that occurred in this area in the last 3 or 4 years. Thousands and thousands of very beneficial cubic yards of dredge material were placed
in the Old Harbor area, and it served to reorient the tidal flow into the salt pond. And it's the location where it's basically been pinched over toward the east that's beginning to scour out the Holmes property. So they approached us to see about an extension, which is not just an extension, it's really what I believe and would term a termination of that revetment that you just see ending. It was ended there because the land was once stable. It was, I think, fairly well managed with sediment, vegetation, but it's just getting clobbered from the changed conditions. So the proposal is to match into those stones you see on the right and bring a similar revetment form about 105 feet to the north, but as it goes, it would be diminishing in cross-section to where it goes from the elevation where it matches the existing. When it finally gets to the parking turnaround, it will be at the elevation of the parking turnaround. So it's nothing abrupt. It kind of minimizes things like scour. It will integrate at that juncture with the now partially degraded fiber products that are in the driveway, and that would be replanted so that there's minimal chance for end scour. The zone that you see dotted there, that is an area that's been sand. It would continue to be sand, but effectively dense planted with beach grass, so that we have effectively a foreshore, and then it transitions to the coastal bank. We thought about bringing the revetment right along the base of that bank, but it just leaves the driveway adrift. So by reducing the cross-section and turning the formation, you basically create a stable buttress where that creek flow is, and you transition into something that was, because of the presence of the marsh, that fiber product had some reasonable chance of success, and it worked. This area that we're talking about is no vegetation. It really is calling for an extension of approximately 105 feet of the revetment, and that's where it would terminate. Access is direct through that staging area that you see. And the area on the revetment and near the revetment where you see the beach grass, that would be a zone for occasional nourishment. So that would be a brief summary of this. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you have. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Start over here. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, as we know, it's a unique property, number one. Number two is stone revetments make enemies out of neighbors. I really never seen too many stone walls where the scarping didn't affect something or somebody. I look at this as primary concern, and you've got about, it looks like 10 or 15 feet of primary concern that has to be addressed. Pretty much, where they have some nice cedar trees and they're being undermined. Why not just continue the wall to the stairway going down, and that would correct the problem, and see how it goes?
We would see how it goes, and I don't disagree with that, and I believe from what we're noticing, we would see a progressive erosion at that point where we might have continuing end scour, where it just seemed that this would bring us to a point where we had some stability, and it just didn't, I want to use the term common sense, but it was reasoned that we would carry this to where we had demonstrated stability. I've actually dealt with both ends of this place. You get here, no question, it's not even an urban legend, there is end scour. with revetments, and it doesn't happen everywhere, but it's common. But if we go to the other end of Scattery, we did a similar thing there. We proposed a stone revetment that was necessary. We actually mapped the dune and where the glacial land and the dune began and ended, but we dropped the cross-section of the revetment. Now, admittedly, there, a lot of material was delivered, sediment at Scattery, which contributed to the development of a beach and dune. Well, we don't have any end scour. We have a situation here where we have lots of sand that the town is bringing in and probably will continue. But we have this creek flow and we have flood tides. It just did not seem that we should leave a gap at this point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just kind of letting you know the way I'm leaning and the way I'm feeling. I have to listen from my fellow commissioners on what they want to say.
Well, I think one of the things that we're going to want to say is that we recognize that the current has increased in velocity and volume since it's been squeezed by the deposition of the dredge material onto the Linnell Lane Beach area. But I think that I agree. What bothered me when I was looking at it was how far that revetment needs to go in order to protect. And really, the truth is, what it's protecting is the driveway. That the house is not in danger from that side. The house was in danger from the other side and threatened, which is why that revetment was approved. That said, it is very dynamic. It changes all the time there, and I think that we would probably benefit from a meeting on site.
Yeah.
Where you could walk us through and walk us down the entire length, and we could get a
Sure.
sense of how fast the conditions are changing and how far the revetment would need to go in order to protect the property. But Paul will be in touch with you to schedule that if that
Okay.
makes sense to you.
When we considered the dwelling threat, we looked at the distance to the top of the slope. And although not all of that slope is eroding, it's beginning to, and it's 15 to 18 feet from the top of the slope. The building is close. And it was an overall examination to
Okay.
provide something that would stabilize this area for a lengthy term until the conditions might abate.
If they do.
Well, I mean,
They're
it's,
just gonna, or they
what
change
what you
something
have
else.
is a lengthening barrier beach, but what I think of when I say abate is that we would stabilize that area and be able to handle some of the flooding conditions.
Okay. Which are well-known. Other questions? Let me go down this end here. Bob, Cheryl, Karen?
No.
Cheryl?
I would like to have an on-site. I think that would be really helpful for me to get a better feel for what I'm looking at and what the options are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for considering that. I went over to look at the spot, because I love it over there. I went several times, and every time it was just, the sea was completely different. It was doing different things, and I don't know how you tame it, but I think it would be wonderful to be a little more educated with the group and you.
Sure. We would add more to your mark out. I mean, I think we could even, if we know exactly, and we will know when we're going to meet, I'd have
Low
something
tide.
done at the site that would produce kind of a mock-up,
Okay.
maybe stakes and some string lines to show you how this is going to go vertically.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Bob?
Bob, do you need any other approvals besides ours for this?
Well, we've endeavored to keep this landward of the high tide line. So,
Okay, all right.
except for some probable very low-intensity self-verification from the Corps, we're not looking to get a 91 license, for example.
Okay, yep, all right, thanks.
Okay, anybody have anything else? All right, we'll look at the calendar. Again, we're going to, at the end of today's hearing, we're going to help Paul, we're going to give him dates of our availability so that by the time he reaches out to you, you ought to be able to identify
We're flexible.
a mutually
can
agreeable
accommodate.
date. But picking a date to continue this would be post on-site. one, two,
Talk to
three.
Paul about a low tide time.
Yeah, just to be on the safe side, my inclination is to take it to May 8th, 4 weeks. That would be enough time to have everything wrapped up. All right. Then let's do a motion to continue it to May 8th, and we will schedule the on-site for some time between now and then.
Great.
All right.
I move that we continue 26 Salt Pond Road to the meeting on May 8th, 2024 for a notice of intent.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
All right.
Thank
We will
you.
see you sometime in the next few weeks, and back here again on May 8th.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, Paul?
Okay, just a quick note.
Yep.
I got into the portal. This does have a DEP number. It's 3675. And just FYI, 62 Chase is 3667. So those numbers have been issued.
Oh, finally. Okay, good.
All right. Yep. So next on the agenda is 53 Marsh View Road, Elvira and Laura Mastrobono, map 8C, parcel S38, DEP SE10. Don't have one for this one. Demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling. That's the project.
All right, thank you.
Attaboy, Paul, you got our name right. David Clark on behalf of the Mastrobonos. Phil Cheney, I believe, is online, who developed the mitigation plan. As stated, this is a demolition rebuild of an existing house. The house was built back in 1963, as most of all the other houses in this neighborhood. There is, it's hard to believe that any resource areas impact this property because of Marshview Road to the north and Bucks Creek Road to the west, but the floodplain does come into the property on the opposite corner of Bucks Creek Road. The floodplain also comes into the property to the east of us. The slope of the landform to the east of us is less than 10-to-1, so there's no coastal bank there. The slope of the landform across from us on Marshview was less than 10-to-1, so there's no coastal bank there. But there is a small portion of the landform on the property to the west that exceeds 10-to-1, so in that one little spot, there is a coastal bank. So we show the 1,500 from that, and a portion of the project does fall within 100 feet of that coastal bank. With the demolition and the rebuild, the owners decided to move the driveway over to the east side of the property. That eliminates the existing driveway and grass parking that currently exists on the west side. So the overall impact on the property is only 170 square feet increase in site coverage in the 50 to 100. Phil has provided a landscape plan, mitigation plan to address the required mitigation. Some other mitigation that doesn't exist, part of the property in its current state is there's no stormwater control, so we're adding stormwater controls for both the roof runoff and the driveway. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Maybe we'll hear from Phil, and then we can open it to all questions. I saw him online. Yeah, there he is. Okay. Is he muted? No, he's not muted, right? Go ahead, Phil, you're on. No? Not on Teams, but his computer might be. All right, well, while Phil sorts out his technical difficulty, I have a quick question. So the fragment of a coastal bank, which appears to be more or less in the middle of Marshview Road as it crosses it, does it perform any function of coastal bank for this property?
I would say, other than a vertical buffer, and it's somewhat of a minimal vertical buffer in that the source of flooding is Bucks Creek from the Ridgeville Beach area, which is and then the flood has to come around into Sulphur Springs and then kind of reverse direction. So it's, like I said, it's minimal vertical buffer and certainly no source of sediment to
Okay, that's what I thought.
anything.
And since this is, we're back in the same neighborhood with the floodplain, can you show me where the elevation 11, it crosses this property or?
It doesn't
intersects?
cross, this- it doesn't enter this property at all. It's all
Okay.
on abutting properties.
Okay, so no part of this property is in land subject to
floodplain.
coastal storm
No.
flowage? Okay, so the only impact is in the outer aura to that coastal bank?
Yes.
Where the patio and the extension of the house are proposed? Okay, that's what I had written down. I wanted to confirm that.
I had a couple questions.
Go ahead, Eric.
When you regrade, what's it gonna be? What kind of, just a Cape Cod lawn, or how are they gonna do this?
I think Phil is showing a fescue lawn on
Yeah.
in the 50 to 100.
And these mitigation areas, is it worth it? I mean, you'd have to dig everything out there that's natural, and then you gotta replant a few mitigation plants. I mean, is that something that we have to do?
We're following your protocol.
I mean, in some instances, I mean, is it really, I mean, it's, in those areas, it's just all vegetation, and it's just wild, and they'd have to excavate it to put a few plants in it. Just, in a situation like this, I don't know, I just don't see it necessary.
Would the commission prefer that we take the same planting lists and find bare spots within that 50 to 100 portion of the property? Or as close to the 50 line as possible, instead of taking out an area that's equal to 170 square feet?
Maybe plant a tree or two or something, I don't know. But I just think, my opinion is that, from my experience in the business, it just seems like there's more disturbance than what you're gonna get, instead of just leaving it alone, Thanks.
Let me see if Phil has resolved his issues and has Crystal has her hand up. Crystal? No. Nobody can. Okay.
This is Carol Keek. I'm
Oh, I'm
abutter.
sorry. We saw CK, we thought you were Crystal Keon, so.
Very similar. First of all, I want to say I support this project. I am an abutter at 69 Marshview, and so I'm supporting of this project. I do have two questions, and I did send it to both Crystal and to Jim and Laura. Regarding the mitigation, I am where their existing parking is being removed. I was wondering if they could extend some evergreens further down Bucks Creek because of the proposed patio, just from a sightline and noise abatement type of thing. So it is natural. So this is on the Bucks Creek side where they have northern bayberry. If they can continue with some taller plantings down there, because if there should be people outside and things along that line, it would keep just the noise and the light from transferring over across the street.
Okay, so if you're looking, if you can see the plan that is up on the screen.
Yes.
So you're suggesting some plantings along the road that follow the
Yeah.
curve of the road?
Yeah, just basically where their apron was on their existing parking area.
Which is a bare area.
Further down toward their property line, yeah.
Oh, I see, down there. So that would resolve Commissioner Hilbert's question as well, because when that parking area is removed, it's going to be a bare area. So maybe we don't need those 3 sweet ferns up where Phil has them located, but instead run more substantial
something
screening
taller.
native, something taller, something that will screen better, that is still a native shrub, to run down along the side of Bucks Creek Road. Phil, is that, I'm going to hope you see how your sound is doing. So we're making a lot of decisions for you here, Phil, so we like to hear you weigh in on them.
Jim Mastrobono has his hand up.
Okay, who's that? Jim? Hello?
Yes, Jim Mastrobono, hello. I'm the homeowner.
Oh, yes, okay.
So I hear what you're saying, Carol, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. Our intention was to actually, put some, trees and plants, so we'd have some privacy when we're on the patio also. So totally, I don't have a problem with that, especially if it comes at getting some relief on those mitigation plantings. That would be helpful.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that we're on the road to that.
Can I just add to be careful what
Yes.
evergreens you put in, stay, you don't want Leland cypress, things like that, so it has to stay within the list.
Right, native.
Fair enough.
Yep. Bob, you have a-
Well, just to follow on that theme, we're talking about the area, we're talking about the outer aura here.
Yep.
For the most part. And so, is this a rebuild? Yeah, it is, right. So you're basically starting fresh with the property, and you are showing 4 inkberries as foundation plants in the front of the house, which are native, which is good. But you just mentioned other plantings that you're considering. So normally, for cases like this, if there are landscaping plants being put in, foundation plants being put in, we would typically see that, and also there's a requirement that plantings in the outer aura be at least, 75% native, right? So that's kind of a black box right now, what you plan to plant in the outer aura aside from these mitigation plants. And it's something we should probably get clearer on in terms of your plan.
Well, we're going to be pulling out that driveway, so it'll just be a bare spot there. So the intent was just to carry some of those indigenous plants a little further down,
Yep.
so it wouldn't just be.
Yep, that we hear, and that we are in total agreement with that, of carrying those screening native plants further down into and beyond that bare driveway. What Bob is talking about are the ornamental foundation plants that are, that always go in the front of the property. About half of the front of this property is in protected area, so it's subject to our requirements that 75% of those be native plants. We don't have a landscaping plan yet. This is a mitigation plan. What we could do is, if we get this ready for an order in the next week or 2 weeks, put in the order that the proposed landscape plan be submitted to the agent and to the commission for approval prior to any plants being installed there, to make sure that it complies. You don't need to do that. We don't need to get to that point at this point in the process.
Yeah, I think Phil is showing some foundation plantings on
Yep.
the north side of the house.
Yep.
We're not counting those as part of the mitigation.
that's just
But they
landscape.
are right now 100%
Right,
natives.
but I'm sure there'll be more.
It's possible.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Anybody have anything else that needs to go into an order? Otherwise, I think we could, Phil, I'm going to speak for you.
Yeah, just a question, how's everything going to get watered? Is it going to be
No irrigation.
temporary above, or how's it?
Temporary above is what the only thing we allow. Phil, I'm going to say that you will be able to revise the mitigation plan and get it to Paul within the next week to 10 days. If so, we can schedule this for an order of conditions on the 24th, if we have that in hand by then.
I mean, there's no rush in that. ZBA is probably in May sometime. Yeah. So,
Or we can wait and do it in a little bit later, once.
well, we could go 2 weeks after the 24th. The first,
All right, let's do
the
that.
first
That
meeting
gives
in
us,
May.
that maybe Phil will have a landscape plan by then, and
Yeah.
that would be super. And the 24th is a little bit jammed up anyway. That would be May 8th.
One more question.
One more question, yes.
Is the patio pervious?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, then let's take a motion to continue this to May 8th. We'll do a final review of mitigation, maybe a landscape plan, and get it ready for an order of conditions. What date is,
May
May what?
23rd is the ZBA, so
Yeah.
we'll have to hold it anyway.
We'll hold it at that point, yeah, and then hold off on
We
issuing
can
it.
ask any questions on the landscape, et cetera, and then It'll be ready
Yep.
once they.
All right,
Just, I keep hammering on the landscaping plan that the lawn should be addressed as well. It
Yeah.
should be it should be fescue, native fescue.
It's stated on the
Okay,
plan.
I just didn't remember,
Yeah.
but that's good.
Okay, thank you.
motion to continue to May 8th.
I move that we continue 53 Marshview Road to the meeting on May 8th, 2024.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Is that a virtual background, or are you really in some place that looks quite so she as that?
Virtual.
Virtual. You're at work, okay. Yeah, I know, I'm sitting here, every time she comes on, I go, oh.
Do you want me to send me all mine? Next week.
Okay, all right, Paul, what do we have next? Oh, we're getting to the end of this.
Next, we have something that might take a little time.
Yeah.
30 Sears Point Lane, McClay Family Property LLC, map 11A, 1, parcel 6-4, no DEP number. Proposed waterfront maintenance is the project description. It's a little bit more than that, actually, but as you know, that's it.
A little bit.
Good afternoon, Catherine Ricks with Ty and Bond, here on behalf of Bill McClay, our client. I also have Ryan Kavanaugh online as one of the other members of Ty and Bond. And then Wilkinson Ecological Design, we have Stephen Lee and Katrine Higgins here. And then Bill Riley is here representing the client as well. We'd like to start our presentation with a quick project history, family history of the site from Mr. Bill McClay.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill McClay. I and my cousins own the property. My great-great-great-grandfather was Sears of Sears Point, who had daughters, and that's property's been descendants of his, and actually the surrounding properties were also a part of the family originally. I grew up there learning how to sail. My grandmother started the Stage Harbor Yacht Club with others. My great-uncle was an architect and designed the yacht club. So it's a place that means a lot to us, and I'll turn it over to someone else.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Okay, so the existing conditions, there are 5 timber groins that go shore normal with the salt marsh in between, and then the coastal bank with a timber bulkhead at the bottom. It's a pretty small timber bulkhead. And this just shows you the existing conditions of, due to the fact it's a timber bulkhead that's been there and the groins that have been there for years, and we'll show a slide after this of how long we think they've been there, but approximately before 1965. So they're in need of repair and replacement. And then some of the invasive species that are on the bank, and another picture of the the existing conditions of the bulkhead and the erosion that has happened behind the bulkhead. And then some recent storm damage of loss of the coastal bank along the site on a area where there wasn't the timber bulkhead towards the northwest property. So this picture is a historical image where if you look closely at the shoreline, you can kind of see the scalloping of the shoreline, which is indicative of groins. And this is the comparison of the 1965 to 2018 and kind of giving you an idea of where you can see the scalloping and you can see the existing groins that are there. So we've determined that they were definitely there before 1965. So the proposed work is to replace the existing timber bulkhead and going kind of landward of it. We're not going seaward. We're going to increase the height by about +1 from where it is now, +1 to +2, depending on how much it's sunk since it was put in, and then repair the existing timber groins, but not replace them. So the repair in kind on those. And then in addition to that, we are going to propose fiber rolls in that area where we've seen some slumping of the coastal bank, reestablish the coastal bank, and then Wilkinson Ecological is going to provide some invasive species management and then native plantings. And I'll let Katrine take over from there.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So our proposal our project proposes invasive removal, including the management of a pretty significant stand of Japanese knotweed, and replanting spanning the entire bank of this property. We're also, as Catherine said, we're proposing the installation of a coir-based fibril array on the western side. And we see this overall as a great opportunity to both provide high-quality habitat for wildlife and also to strengthen stormwater infiltration. So if you went out to the site, hopefully you did, you likely noticed that the bank is covered with state-listed invasive species, with the most noticeable being the knotweed that I mentioned. That knotweed is concentrated, as our plan shows, right along the stairway on either side. And then in addition to the knotweed, there's shrub honeysuckle, vine honeysuckle, porcelainberry, multiflora rose, and bittersweet, just kind of throughout the bank. Really, the invasives it's clear that they're outcompeting the native species, with only really sassafras, seaside goldenrod, high tide bush, cherry, and oak are really the only remnants of a native plant community. So as always, we're proposing to remove the invasive species primarily by hand, since it's a really steep bank. And the timeline and approach for this is described in our land management plan. The area would be immediately blanketed using the erosion control blanketing and seeded with the native seed mix specified on our plan. And then in addition, we're proposing a small fiber roll array along 30 feet of the western side of the bank. This work is very consistent with other successful fiber roll projects that we've completed in this area in particular, and as you know, throughout Chatham. This is very small, though. That might be the biggest difference. The scale of this is quite small. So the protocol for this work is included starting on page 6 of our land management plan. The fiber rolls will be installed beginning with the lowest fiber roll, and will work up and back as we typically do, and that would complete the 6-high array. The fiber rolls will be wrapped in biodegradable coir blanketing, anchored using earth anchors, and planted with beach grass. And then we would install erosion control blanketing above the array, and the area will be planted according to our plan. And then overall, the entire bank will be planted with a focus on those maritime shrubs that are currently lacking on this site and on this bank. So we're looking at bayberry, sweet fern, Carolina rose, high tide bush, as well as herbaceous species such as American beach grass and seaside goldenrod. We've also called out, and it's in that darker green hatch on our plan, a specific salt-tolerant seed mix to be installed on the lower coastal bank that will do well with the salt water. So overall, we're seeing this as a great opportunity to enhance the resource area and provide an ecological uplift in terms of both improved habitat for wildlife and increased stormwater function for the site. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Katrine, what percentage of the existing vegetation on the coastal bank would you estimate is invasive versus native?
It's hard to say specifically because of the different layers. You know, there are some native grasses growing underneath some of that vegetation, but I would say it's 80%.
Is it? Okay.
Rough, I'm just kind of a guess. It might be a little more, a little less, but
Okay. Yeah, no,
it's
just
pretty
rough estimate,
invaded.
so
Yeah, it's
about
very
that.
invaded.
Okay.
Especially with that knotweed. I mean, you can see on that picture on the top left, it's growing in the stair area too.
And are the stairs slated for removal and replacement as well, or?
That's
I
not
don't
part of this.
believe that's part of this.
No? Okay.
I don't know if
Okay. There's a lot of questions, as you might expect, about the existing bulkheads and the groins. Some of them, we think, would be best answered by having an on-site visit, so that you can walk us through, because there are places where there's nothing behind the bulkhead, and it's not clear what the bulkhead is contributing to anything. And I guess my understanding is that existing bulkhead is going to remain, or is it being
the
taken
existing one would be removed and a new one is gonna be placed slightly.
seaward? No,
Slightly landward.
And then
So
filled
it's-
behind that.
Yeah.
Because there's a big gap between the existing.
Yes, and then fill behind that. So we think it's the storm surge, not so much the waves in this area because of where it's located, but the storm surge, especially with the higher storm surges we've had recently, especially from the south.
Yeah.
We feel that that's what's causing it, so we're gonna increase the height slightly on that.
And then you're showing on there, I can't make it out here, but there's another bulkhead that appears to be buried somewhere in the middle of the coastal bank. Yes, go ahead, Mr. McClay.
So as you look at that, you can see the groins quite clearly. You can see the bulkhead at the end, or just on the higher end of that, which sticks up from the beach anywhere from 3 feet to a foot or less even. And then above it, there's a wooden wall that's about this high. That I don't know when it was built. I mean, it's been there since I can remember, as early as possible. The rest of it I remember going back to when I was at least younger than 12, which would have been 1970.
Are you doing this or Catherine?
But there is a wall that doesn't serve a huge function, but it was built there a very long time ago.
Is it visible? Is it?
Site visit will help.
It's covered with a lot of bittersweet.
That's
So
probably why.
it is visible if you're
If you're,
walking on the beach. You can see it, but it's really not prominent in your view.
okay. I didn't know it was there and noticed it on the plan and said, what's that? So another reason why a site visit would be helpful for us to understand exactly what the current situation is and visualize what's being proposed here.
Okay.
Go ahead, Eric.
I have a question. Hello, Bill. When I looked at the property, it reminds me of when we used to do snow fencing on dunes to capture the sand. The only problem is if you look at the neighbor, they're down to bare fiber roll. It doesn't seem like, it seems like it's capturing all the sand and not really sharing the wealth to anybody else. It's not moving anywhere by these groins. Are the groins something that's absolutely determined?
Yeah, so repair of the groins and just repairing them.
No,
we
I
feel-
mean removing the groins.
We feel the reason that we'd like to repair them is because of the amount of salt marsh that has stayed there over the years, and we feel it's because that sand has been pretty steady in that area. It really hasn't accreted.
It's very steady in that area.
Yeah,
and
it
the
really
others are
hasn't
bare.
accreted or depleted, but it's been pretty steady to keep that salt marsh there, and we fear that removing all of the groins would cause loss of salt marsh.
But also, isn't it supposed to be, scientifically, isn't it supposed to be ebb and flow? The sediment's supposed to move around and not be captured?
So part of it is groins and groin fields, depending on where they are and their spacing. They collect some on the accretion side, and then they have a depletion side, but then as it goes up, where it accretes, it eventually moves around
But did
the
you
groin
notice,
and
did you notice on the far west side from the last groin is where the scarping is?
the lot where it's not protected by the bulkhead there and where the last one is. And I-
there's the groins that's causing it. So you don't really, it's hard to know unless you have this goes back, these bulkheads and revetments and, this is an age-old argument. But
It is indeed, and groins are an age-old controversy for the very reason that Eric is pointing. They interfere with littoral drift and they prevent natural accretion. It strikes us, though, that you're going to need a Chapter 91 license for those?
Yes, it would have to go to Chapter 91 if we were to repair anything.
Okay.
And
Well,
these previously, I don't believe, had a license, so we would need to
Well, that was
go
one
for-
of our questions, was what
We haven't-
approvals or licenses exist
Yeah.
for all of this?
I don't believe there was, especially if they were put in before 1965, when most of the projects didn't get it, so we would have to go to DEP Waterways in order to get that license. Kind of a grandfathering of the structure.
Well, I think it's something that we would like to look at on site, because it is troubling.
maybe it'd be good
We don't normally
mitigation.
approve these sort of things. So, haven't generally dealt with it. Questions? Go ahead, Bob.
I have a question. The drainage off the house and the patio, where is that? Is that being collected right now?
It's not being collected.
So is there a tendency for it to move towards the bank?
Certainly in a heavy rain, it's all sand, so there's not a lot of grass or whatever.
No, you need to speak into the microphone.
I assume it does move that way. There isn't grass. it does, in the heavy rain, it definitely will go over the bank.
So we might want to consider putting some drainage in next to that patio especially.
I might just add one thing in terms of the question around groins. I am quite clear from my own memories and everybody else in my family, we actually, I think, have photographs here that are quite old photographs showing that the groins and bulkheads have been there for a very long time. I remember quite distinctly because I was probably, I mean, my memory probably clearly starts at 10 or 12. That would put it back in the, into the 50s or 60s in terms of when all of that happened. The story, and this is hearsay, but from my grandmother, was that the Oyster River was dredged and then it started eroding. If you do know the Oyster River there, the channel is very much on our side, so at low tide, it drops off quite steeply. And I mean, I just, in the last year, where the groins, the groins have deteriorated as you go farther up the Oyster River, and that's the part that's next to the neighbor's embankment. So there used to be 2 or 3 feet higher there, and on the parts right near the stairs from our property that goes down, in the last winter, actually, the level has gone up, actually. And it stayed incredibly consistent. It wasn't as well maintained down at the far end of the property and undermined and has therefore not being as effective as it has before.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob. You had a question.
Also, Katrine, the sassafras cluster, you say to maintain that at 6 to 8 feet. Do you think that's practical? I mean, this has to be pruned from time to time then to keep it low for the view.
Right. Some of that, I think, has been degraded because of the erosion in that area since we've developed this plan. We certainly could swap it with other shrubs if that's where you were going with it.
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
just thinking about, the future,
Yep. And there is a nice stand to the eastern side of the
Yes, I
sassafras
see that,
that'll
yeah.
just remain, yeah,
And that's out of the view anyway, yeah.
right.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Other questions over here? Cheryl? Karen?
No, I think a site visit's going to help a lot.
I agree. Yep. Yep. Other questions? There's a piece of correspondence that came in yesterday. I'm just seeing it now from an abutter, Kurt and Janine Kilty, 155 Sears Road. It's lengthy, so I'm just going to summarize it. They are writing to support the project. They speak to how they have witnessed the dynamic and formidable forces of the ocean reshaping the coastal environment. Intimate familiarity with the stretch of beach from Sears Road to Battlefield Road underscores the connection to this coastline. It's not been without its challenges, and she speaks to the realities of coastal erosion and flooding and prompting us to voice our concerns. And we implore the commission to heed this call for action and embark on a strategic planning process, wouldn't that be nice, aimed at safeguarding our coastal assets for generations to come. Well, that's out of our purview, but we would certainly welcome that. Shouldn't say that. Including reevaluation of the efficacy of existing structures such as the groins and embracing innovative solutions informed by the experiences of other coastal communities facing similar challenges. So that's from Kurt and Janine Kilty.
Madam Chair, we have Sonia Bartlett, who is our neighbor, would like to speak.
Yes, Ms. Bartlett, hello.
Here or there?
Either one.
Either one, your choice.
Okay, a little bit more room here. Hi, thank you very much for your service. My name is Sonia Bartlett. I live right next door along with my husband for 13 years at 157 Sears Road. So if you're on the beach, it's to the left. We also, before that, lived over near Stage Harbor Yacht Club for 7 years. So it's been about 20 years that we've been down in that neighborhood. And my family has been in Chatham for 4 generations. So I have been walking that beach my whole life and have seen the changes firsthand. And 2 years ago, we ourselves also had to install a fiber roll array on the side abutting with the McClays, because that is really where the danger zone is, right there between the two homes. So like the left side of theirs and the right side of ours. My husband Jim and I, who is on the line, I believe, if he was able to get the technology to work. Hi, honey. We really do appreciate the efforts of our neighbors to try to bring the structure into compliance. Anyone who's walked there knows that it has been a concern for many people in the community regarding public safety, the appearance of it. There have been times that pieces have been sticking out in strange places. Also, we really, really, really appreciate the efforts to control the invasives, especially the Japanese knotweed, which we know can spread like wildfire. So we do really appreciate that, and would like to support our neighbors in making this, and bringing this into compliance. That is, we do have some concerns. The main thing that we really have a concern with is the groins. These groins are very clearly failing, and in the couple that are on our end, I've measured between 18 inches and 24 inches of daylight between the bottom of the groin and the beginning of the sand on the beach. Forgive my lack of scientific terms. We disagree with the statement in the filing where it says that these are helping to accumulate sediment. We believe that they are no longer accumulating any sediment. We also disagree with the premise in the filing where it says that they are helping to prevent erosion. They are not helping to prevent erosion, at least not the ones on our side. If anything, we have over the years, 20 years that we've been in that neighborhood, we have seen, especially the 13 years that we've owned our property, how those groins, especially the last two on our side, actually work to help shoot water at the bank. It sticks out perpendicular, it doesn't reach the ground, it causes a tidal disturbance, and it directs the water right at the most fragile part of the bank. So we would, respectfully request the removal of the southernmost, or maybe it's westernmost groin, the one that's closest to us, as we watch it every day, really directing the water right at the end of the McClay's bank where things are really in trouble, and the beginning of ours, and really damaging the end of our fiber rolls. There had previously been a smaller groin right on the property line that was discovered when we did our filing, you remember, and we asked them to remove it, and they did, and we appreciated that. And almost immediately, we saw that area start to kind of come back. Things float in there, and grass gets caught in there, and that is actually a little pocket that is starting to almost look like it's recovering, which again furthers our belief that the groins are more of a problem than a solution, and that by at least taking the ones away close to our end, that it will help protect that fragile connection. There are also some horizontal posts sticking out that I believe connected the groins in a previous iteration, that maybe the horizontal pieces have fallen out. The vertical things that are sticking out, it's a concern to us as neighbors. That's a public safety issue, and we'd really like to see those removed. When the tide is high, those barely stick out of the water. When the tide is low, they're sticking out of the beach. They're just not doing anything, and they're a public safety issue. And we do have a concern about the proposed fiber roll. We're very concerned that it does not connect all the way to ours, and that it leaves the 10 feet exposed that are the most vulnerable. And you will see on your site visit, the most vulnerable part of the property. It's really in danger of collapsing. I was really worried about it these last couple of storms, and it's in trouble. And we feel that to have a gap there that is so fragile between our fiber roll and their fiber roll is just asking for trouble. We would really like to see those connect, and we would like to hope that the town would not push back with that setback rule. Let's see, I think that's it. Thank you very much for hearing me out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bartlett. Appreciate you
And
coming.
I do have
this is
some
helpful.
pictures that I took this morning.
Okay.
Because some of the photos in the filing are rather old. They show the fiber roll next to me as touching the ground. And I took some pictures this morning just to show
We'll
that
take
they
them,
are.
and rest assured, we're going to be out there in the next couple of weeks anyway, when the tide is sufficient that we can see all of it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Everybody can do that. Okay, other questions or comments before we, so we will need to schedule, again, same message to you, after this hearing, at the end of the hearing, we will confer with Paul Whiteman about our availability and find a date.
Yep.
So, pull up my calendar. The 24th is too soon, the 8th is the next one after that. So we're pushing everything to the 8th today, so might as well. Is that okay with you? That work for you?
May
All
8th
right.
on the continuation?
Yep, May 8th.
And a
All right.
site visit somewhere in between?
The site visit will be somewhere in between. I was hoping for kind of, sort of next week, since there's no hearing next week, but
Okay.
other people are not available that day, next week, so sometime in the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
we'll have that hearing, that site visit, hopefully, but before the 8th. All right, a motion to continue to the 8th.
I move that we continue 30 Sears Point Lane to the meeting on May 8th, 2024 for a notice of intent.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right. We will see you on site in the next couple of weeks and back here again on the 8th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we take a short break before we move on to the next one? Because we're going to be here for a while on that. Okay. All right, we are back. Paul, are you back?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's go on to the next one. And Mary's
for the
back too.
break.
We're all here. Okay.
Okay. So next on the agenda is a notice of intent, 414 Fox Hill Road, Christopher LaCroix, map 11M, parcel 5-2, DEP number SE103652. The project is proposed dock replacement.
All right, thank you. All right, who do we have for representing the project? Cole, are you? You can go ahead.
I am here. Hi, good afternoon. Cole Bateman from Ty and Bond, formerly Coastal Engineering, and I believe Bill Riley is also in the audience and will lead off our presentation to aid with the commission's review. I'll share.
He's currently, he's counseling another client out in the hallway, but
Oh,
he'll
okay.
be in a second.
Okay, I'll start it off then, unless we wanted to just give him a second.
No, I think we can
Okay.
get going.
All right, great. So this project has been presented to the commission before. This is a continued hearing for the proposed proposed replacement pier at 414 Fox Hill Road in Chatham. To save the commission's time today, I'll just review the changes to the application. So as a result of previous comments by multiple jurisdictions, including DEP, DMF, the commission itself, as well as the Pleasant Bay Association, we've changed the proposed project to what it currently is in the proposed plans now, which is just the replacement of the licensed pier, and which only includes the portion of the permanent and seasonal structure, which measures approximately 110 feet in length by approximately 4 feet wide. I believe that the Chapter 91 public access stairs will also be repaired and improved. But other than that, what is included in our notice of intent application is just those structures which are currently licensed and are being requested to be replaced.
And this is replacement is proposed in the same footprint?
The same footprint as the current pier, as well
Yep.
as the licensed footprint, which according to the DEP correspondence from Brenda Mullaney, since the pier beyond the length of 110 feet has not been maintained within 5 years, it is no longer part of the licensed application.
Okay. So it's just the 110 feet? Right, that's what, I'm
That's
looking at his
correct,
letter. We would recognize the 110 feet section of pier as having a valid authorization. Okay. So the float is out. We are back to just the licensed pier in the same footprint. You go to ZBA for this in May?
523.
That is the next step.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. The piles, are all of the piles permanent? It says here,
No,
pier is
so-
constructed in a way that makes some piles removable. So can you walk us through how that works?
Certainly. So this has not been changed from the original application, but approximately the first 50 feet of the pier is a permanent section. It has been that way for some time now, as I understand it. And then the last 60 feet is seasonal. So the details of the pier do change throughout the length. The permanent pier section would be more of the traditional round piles to sustain any seasonal storm-related loads. And then the portions of the pier beyond the 50-foot permanent pier would be seasonal and constructed of a lighter duty 4x4 embedded piles that could be more easily removed in the off-season, as well as the components above. I suppose one change from the existing Pier 2 that could be mentioned is the inclusion of a railing on both sides of the pier for safety.
Okay. All right, so that just leaves us to really address the issues of methods and materials. So I mean, the orders, we have standing, and I'm sure you are familiar with this, conditions for installation of new pilings, no jetting. We would expect to put that in. What, and forgive me if I've missed this, but it's been quite a while since I've read this. The methodology for the removal and reinstallation of the pilings, that, for the seasonal portion, how is that done?
So it's done in bents, so I can steal a screen here. So let's see if I can, I'll just do a line, but it's a frame that would be installed year to year with all these lines being part of the frame, including the X bracing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the portions of the decking would be laid flat, probably a modular system, so that it's just really laid on the existing structure. So again, all the big dark red lines would be installed as a module and pushed into the sand, and the rest would be laid on top.
So what is that process of pushing those modular piling sections in? How is that?
I'd have to ask Jen Henry from Beacon Marine, who does the seasonal installation of this dock, for the more precise details. But nothing would change. Our intention is to not change anything from how it currently is installed with the proposed application.
Okay. And in terms of materials, as between the pilings and the decking, what are you proposing?
Yep, so the currently proposed section has been changed from the initial filing, but not from the most recently reviewed filing. So the decking is proposed as a PVC product. I think one of the questions from Commissioner Rawls in the past was the presence of microplastics, or the potential of that. And we responded with a letter that microplastics and this product itself it's not really an issue, other than during construction to monitor any cutoffs and dust from it. So that will be something that will be implemented during the construction, to have all cutting done off-site or at an upland location where there wouldn't be dust or debris created. And then as far as the superstructure, aside from the wearing components, that is the decking, the rest is treated wood. This area, Crow's Pond is a well-flushed area. It's tidal. And we feel that in accordance with the DMF guidelines, that it would fall within the realm of possibilities for CCA-treated pilings, because it is so well flush and not in direct area of salt marsh. So I mean, the piles themselves would be CCA, and then as you move up the hierarchy of exposure, we would run down the treatment levels to probably an MCA product, which is a very typical construction, pressure treatment, and does not leach, and especially for the seasonal components that could be essentially replaced in the off season once the portions are removed. The treatment retention levels and pressure treatment doesn't have to be nearly as much as the portions of the pier that are permanent. So it's a mix of timber and PVC with fluctuating levels of retention and pressure treatments, purposely intended for the specific deterioration that element would anticipate. A lot said there.
Okay, yeah, and I'm trying to write all that down. So the CCA treated portions of the pilings are the permanent pilings.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, well, I think that's all I have for the moment in terms of clarifications. Let me see. Yeah, PVC. Questions, comments, reactions?
Sure, I'll do it one more time. I can make it short and sweet. I'm not concerned about leaching, as I've said before, from the PVC decking. I'm concerned about the fact that eventually it will degrade. I think we all agree that it will degrade. And I'm concerned about at that point that the microplastics from the degraded decking will enter the wetland. And really, there's no way to say that that won't happen. There's no way to guarantee that it won't happen unless whoever owns it is out there watching it very carefully, and I have no assurance that anyone will ever do that. So I have bad news and good news for you. The bad news is that I'm going to vote against it. The good news is I only get one vote.
You don't know who else is with you on that. Do you want to respond to that, Cole? Do you have a?
Yeah, yes, please. And I appreciate the comment, and it's always a pick of what's the worst here, right? Because then we could go to like a green forest, and I think we might have mentioned this earlier, a rainforest product that's barged up here all the way from Guyana, just so it's more durable and has natural decay resistant properties. But what good is that? But we feel that the PVC product is better for the environment here than a timber decking due to the surface area that would be exposed to rainwater. We found on different projects and research that an alternative of lying dimensional lumber, pressure treated lumber flat, which has the most surface area exposed to rainwater, that is how leaching is most likely to occur. I'm not saying it does on every project, but that is how it's most likely to occur, as opposed to vertical components that do not have that same projection. So again, we feel like the proposed project is in a difficult situation of choosing the best material, but the one that we chose, as long as it's maintained, would be more beneficial material than the one that's currently there. So thank you.
How do you maintain plastic?
Well, I think you said it yourself. You take it off and you relay it when it's reached when UV impacts it and there's bowing in the material. It's pretty self-telling. Plus, it's also a product that's recyclable. I think I've read in some literature for this product that, I'm throwing out a number, but it's some portion of the product is actually recycled from construction debris itself. So I think one of the comments was the potential for this to become landfill material, and I think the industry has acknowledged that by the use of recycling a lot of the PVC products and construction waste.
All right, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm not concerned about the leaching. I know that's what the manufacturer keeps talking about and how it's non-leaching material. That's not the issue, at least for me. So we just have to agree to disagree on this. It will ultimately wind up, some portion of it will wind up in the wetland. There's no way that it cannot. So anyway, that's where I leave it, and I'll stop talking about it.
Well, in response to those concerns, which are shared by a number of people on the commission, with respect to PVC as well as composite materials and the concerns about leaching for treated wood, the question is, have you given consideration to the use of either untreated decay-resistant wood or aluminum for these, at least for the decking material?
That's a good question, and one of the goals here is to create, at least for the seasonal portions of the project, something that is removable, and to use an untreated wood like Ipe or Greenheart that's, I think it's probably like 1.5 times the density of water. It would make it a little difficult to have a seasonal pier constructed from that material. That is very much the opposite for aluminum, which does have a high strength to weight ratio, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's traditionally used to make long spans. But I think that the product is a less field adjustable. It's in some jurisdictions, I know it's not really a concern in Chatham. Some jurisdictions might consider the aesthetics of it and how it's shiny and could distract, from the natural profile of this area. But I don't think we've considered aluminum to the greatest extent for this project as an alternate. But I one of our goals was to create a light project that could be easily stored instead of a series of aluminum gangways, essentially, that would have to be stored in a much larger offsite location.
All right, I'm going to mull that and open it up to other people's questions or comments. Let's go down here. Go ahead, Karen.
I personally would like you to consider aluminum. Since you say untreated wood is not good for seasonal, I would like you to evaluate something that's not treated and isn't plastic. So I'm sort of piling on with Bob and sort of Janet, and asking you to consider that.
Okay, other questions or comments, reactions? Bob?
I just got a quick question. Any lights on this structure at all?
No, that is not included in the proposed structure.
Okay. And the structure is permanent? No movable parts?
50 feet of it is permanent, and then 60 feet is seasonal.
Oh, 60 feet of sea. Where is that going to be stored?
That is open. Currently, it's stored right there at the end of the pier. We've notified the property manager that would likely have to change and be stored in either the parking area of the house or offsite in a marine contractor's yard for seasonal storage.
Okay.
Which is what the order will say.
Yeah, because when I did visit a while ago, I did see that
Yes.
seasonal portion right there
Yep.
on the shoreline.
Yep,
Yep.
We
Okay.
understand.
Yeah, thank you.
okay.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Unless I missed it, and you already talked about it, what does it mean, a public access stairway to facilitate public use of the pond is proposed?
The steps
But
on
it's not
both
for the
sides.
general public.
No, it's for people walking on the beach to get
Oh,
up and
I
over
see.
the-
Oh, cool.
To get
Yeah,
up and
okay.
over. Yeah, everybody
Yeah,
has
that's
to
a-
do that.
that's a
That was
good
very
question.
considerate.
Yeah, well, they're required to do that.
Oh, okay.
And just to educate people who might have a similar question there, it's for the Chapter 91 license and DEP waterways protects the right of the public to use these waterways. So anything above mean high water that does not have a 5x5 vertical and horizontal clearance has to provide either a passageway like this up and over or alternate means around the structure.
Other questions, Cheryl?
I'm just looking back through my notes since this goes all the way back till November.
Yes, it
I
does.
don't know, so I have notes, I don't know. One of the questions previously was about shellfish. Is this going to impact shellfish at all? I don't know if we
have a
answered
letter.
that question.
We have a letter.
Yeah.
It's been a while, so it's probably good to review. So Renee Gagné, the Shellfish Constable, said after reviewing the NOI, I have no issues with the project moving forward. The project proposes to maintain the existing footprint while providing increased accessibility to the shore to the public, which may provide better access to shellfish resources. So
Okay.
she had no issues. It's not mapped for.
And then I guess the Pleasant Bay Alliance has, everything's gone through them that needs to go through them.
Right, Pleasant Bay Alliance tracked the DEP letter and said that in the absence of evidence that it was licensed and approved, then there's a categorical prohibition on new structures in Pleasant Bay, so the float would not qualify, which is what all of the back and forth has been, and the float's been removed.
Gotcha. All right, I'm with you then. I just need a bit of catching up.
No, this has got a bit of catching up to do. Okay, anything?
One last question.
Yes, please.
So it's not the end of the world if the PVC is not approved, right? You can just put a lumber one in, right? Well, I know what you want, what you don't want, I mean, but you still could. I mean, it is an alternative, right?
I believe if I were to ask our client for their preference, the answer would be they would prefer a timber decking material over an aluminum decking material if that's what the commission would prefer in lieu of a PVC product. and maybe I could get some feedback on that comment if possible.
Yeah, the idea is to get to the boat.
Any way to get to the boat that the
There you go.
commission would approve.
Yeah, thank you.
But again, cost, I guess, would also be not a concern the commission would regulate, but one that our client would consider. And I think that would be not in favor of aluminum, but more of a timber, again, PVC product, but.
Well, we can help you with your client's decision, and we can do a straw vote right now, so you can get an indication of where individual commissioners land on the issue of the material, which would help you in terms of advising your client. So let me poll the
Appreciate
commission,
that.
saying between, please order the materials in the order that you would prefer them: aluminum, timber decking, or PVC.
Exactly the order: aluminum, timber decking, PVC.
Untreated timber,
Untreated timber.
correct.
Well, there are restrictions because it comes into contact with human feet, so
The way
they
that
can't
was-
use, a lot of the treated materials can't be used when they're
Right.
coming into contact, so there is a smaller universe of
Is that
approved
the
products.
Is that the CCA to MCA type?
You
That
lose
was
me on
just
some of
described?
those.
I was making notes about the different types of.
Yeah, I read that report 3 times and I still,
Wood, aluminum, plastic. Be my order.
wood, aluminum, plastic.
Is that what I said?
No, you
the
said
first time?
aluminum.
said
I'm
the
sorry.
opposite.
Aluminum, wood, plastic.
What she said.
Okay.
I agree.
Yes. That sounds good.
Few words.
Cheryl?
I actually like wood better,
Okay,
but otherwise, plastic is my bottom.
okay. Mary?
Yeah. I agree also that I prefer wood, then second aluminum. I do understand the lightweight properties of it, and last plastic. And I think as Bob's already said, the concern with the plastic is not the leaching. It's, if you look at the Woods Hole report, the microplastics and people walking on them become loose and end up in the waterway.
And I end up in the same place. I think you'd be hard pressed to get an approval for the PVC decking that you proposed. I don't see 4 positive votes here for that. So with that, you can take the choice of aluminum or timber back to your client for their decision.
Could we get it conditioned a certain way?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Could we get it conditioned with wood?
Would we approve, are you asking us if we would approve wood?
Yes.
Oh,
You mean now? Like,
I'm asking if we could move forward with a condition to have the pier constructed of wood
of timber.
decking.
Okay. Let me ask them that. Would you approve the timber?
Yes.
Yeah, with the proviso that you submit after the fact changes in your plan, right? So,
We have 2
Correct.
weeks to the 24th when we would do the order. Would you approve timber?
I would approve timber.
I would, definitely, yes.
I would too.
Mary?
Yes.
Me too. All right, so we can start work on an order of conditions and schedule that for the 24th. That's 2 weeks from today. You would need to, in that time, revise your materials to change to the timber decking.
They also don't go before ZBA until May 23rd, so we would not be issuing the order until after that.
We would have to
Correct.
hold it, yeah.
Yeah, just so,
Just to make sure that there's no
Yeah.
changes that ZBA is requiring that would require then us to actually go through an amendment process. So, we can do that. We will schedule this then
Thank you.
for the 24th. If everything comes in, that means you would need to get materials in.
no, it's May 23rd that they're ZBA.
Yeah, but we're
Oh, okay.
gonna approve an order and then hold it on the issuance.
Okay.
So you would need to get those revised materials in by the 19th, week from Friday. That would give us
Okay,
that
very
time to
good.
review it, and we will meet back here on the 24th to review a proposed draft order and vote on that. That work?
Thank you very much.
All right, motion then to continue to the 24th for OOC.
I move that we continue 414 Fox Hill Road to the meeting on April 24th for an order of conditions.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We will see you back here in 2 weeks. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We can approve it, we won't issue it. We'll have a vote, but then otherwise we'll have to remember it another month away.
And they are blinding in the sun.
Yeah, there's a lot of considerations all around. All right, Paul, we are ready to move on.
Okay.
On our fourth
Next
order.
on the agenda is 21 Shattuck Lane, Clay A. Rosenberg and Andrea Lynn Flink, map 15C, parcel 12-6, DEP number SE 103671. The project, proposed house addition, pool replacement, hardscape, and associated site improvements.
Hello.
Hello?
So which
Hello,
date
can
are
you
we
hear me?
on now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I know, what's the
This
date,
is
the last one?
Sean Pappas. Well, I've got Derek Redgate on there. Derek, if you want to jump on.
He's on.
Oh, your mic is off.
April.
Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. Derek Redgate from Coastal Engineering. This is our third meeting on this continued for 21 Shattuck. And I think from the last time we talked, our main topic was coming up with an alternate location for some of the fencing and the pool fencing in relation to the buffer zone line. So we've done that, and we've submitted a revised landscaping plan that shows the location, a revised location of the fencing. Another question we went over last time was there an NOI filing and approval order conditions for the original pool and more specifically the shed that's housing the pool equipment, and will continue to house the pool equipment. And we did not find any records of that. With the commission, and I looked back through DEP through 1996. I don't believe there was a filing for that. So we propose to, maintain our current proposed plan in that respect.
Okay, thank you. We do note, did receive the revised materials. See that the fencing has been pulled back to surrounding the pool, as we asked. I don't know what we do, honestly, about the absence of pre-existing approvals. The pool is one thing, the shed is an easier matter. It is sitting on the coastal bank, just above it.
So that's those two lines are the 50 to 100.
Yeah,
buffers,
okay, so it's
not
in the,
coastal.
okay, so it's in the outer.
Yeah, it's outside of the 50.
Okay,
within
outside of the
100.
50. Okay, it's out.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me hear what people have to say about it. Karen?
Yeah, if I could just say, I don't know
Go ahead.
the history of DEP and Chatham's bylaws of when, I think I recall that the 50 was regulated and the 100 was not at some point. So potentially regulations have changed in the time period, but I'm not positive that, it's just speculation.
They would have had to have gone through, I would think, a building permit at some point, one of the previous owners, however many owners ago that would have been. And so at one point or another would have had to come through town hall. Certainly, yeah, there was less restrictive buffers. I can't say for the time when they built this because we don't know exactly when it was built. But we've had to come through town hall building permit.
Do you have any idea, do you have any record of the building permit? Nothing, nothing.
Yeah, not in our research. I mean, I'm guessing, yeah, we don't know when the the pool was actually constructed. My guess it was probably early 90s is my my guess.
Okay, well, if it was early, if your guess is correct, then we've gathered over the years that projects, that the town was paying attention to conservation permits in the early 80s. So whoever put the pool in was definitely late to the game in all likelihood.
Don't know.
It still sits, we are reducing the impervious surfaces, we're reducing the structure in the 100-foot buffer from what it is today. We are bringing the fence in from where it sits today as much as little as 10 feet and as much as, say, 30 to 40 feet further up the hill than what it is currently today.
Can I just add?
So on a very light line.
Can I just add that it was agreed upon to remove the fence completely out of the buffer? And
We wanted to do that the wall, we talked about using the wall for pool enclosure. The wall that we have that surrounds the terrace there does not meet the 4-foot enclosure until it gets to really close to the 100-foot buffer. So we try to get it right into where we were doing our plantings.
What?
And felt like
Red line.
that is the compromise that we could do, because we've got, you wouldn't have the enclosure capabilities till it gets to be a little bit of a taller wall.
And then he brings it in, and then it goes out.
Right, but
We brought it in
was agreed that
substantially
he was
where it is.
moving
It sits down the hill quite a ways
out of it.
Right.
today.
Right, that was the issue.
Well, that was the question, whether or not
Yeah.
we could actually meet that pool enclosure with the wall itself. And in this case, the wall does not get to be 4 feet tall until we get to really right at that 100-foot buffer.
Right. Right.
And we're bringing it, if you look at the very light line, it sits to the right there essentially on the plan. Very, very light line, sits quite a ways down. You can see it running kind of running north-south, quite a bit
Yeah,
into.
with the X's on
where
it,
is
that's the current location, right?
It's to the right of our label that is for the beach plums there, the 5 beach plums. You can see it kind of going at an angle and going straight down. It actually gets into the 50 currently and goes over the property line, so we're pulling it way up the hill to go
Yeah,
as close
that's
to
it.
right around the pool
Yeah.
as it makes
I don't
sense.
have an issue with it being up here.
No, I think it's better.
Yeah, no, it's way better. And then if the wall is not sufficient under the safety standards, they have to have something else, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Because I'm me. I went on the tax assessor's database that has the complete record of the assessments and the reviews of everything that's been done to the house. The pool is not listed. There's a hot tub listed, but there's no listing on this record at all of a pool. And I don't know what that means.
It doesn't list the shed either, does it?
No.
Is it possible that this pool was built without any building permit, without anything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the good news is we're taking this pool out, you guys.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that
true.
possible?
That's true. That is
We're
true.
removing this pool and we're putting in less.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, why don't you just remove the pool?
Thank you, Mary.
Wait, if you just stop there, we're
Not
perfect, then
gonna
we're
happen.
good. Then we're
Not
good.
gonna happen. We'll bring the spa to you, wherever that spa is gonna be. We'll pull that out and bring it to you. How about that?
Okay, so this is not, we cannot look at this as a replacement of pre-existing or anything like that. This is looking at it as if it is
Totally
proposed
new.
for the first time.
So mitigation probably changes, correct? Because they're saying they're pulling it back in the outer aura, but actually it's all considered new structure.
So there'd be a portion of it in the 100 foot. There'd be a portion of that
Right.
hardscape in the 100 foot.
Right.
You got
can see it,
hardscape,
yeah.
you have swimming pool, you,
This bit here.
yeah, you barely get the spa out of the 100. It's touching. You've got walls. I mean, that
It is in
has
the
to be
50.
figured into your
Yeah.
calculations.
Just the wall.
They were saying it's a
Reduction,
decrease in hardscape, and it's now
which is true from
all
what is
new.
currently there, but not from what was permitted. Yeah, so.
And then the shed.
Shed.
And I'm not real excited about, I mean, since it's not permitted, I mean, I'll take on the shed. Why can't you move it back beyond, move it sort of to the left, outside of the 100, but if not, almost outside of the 100, on that far left at the cutting border and where
Yeah.
you're putting the fence?
I'll
And
just
away
double check to see if we, double check to see if we need to have building setbacks for that equipment.
Yeah. Oh, it's holding the pool equipment?
Right, that's what it's
Yeah, I thought so.
It's already
But-
piped over that way, probably.
I mean, if you
There's
can move
this
it,
lawn area up here. I
There's
mean,
lots of
there's
spots.
lawn areas that are
Yep.
outside of the jurisdiction, which would be,
yeah,
Fine.
like, if you head north of the terrace/fire pit and go beyond all that, you're outside of our jurisdiction and it's lawn, and I would assume your setbacks would be pretty good since the building goes further than the shed would. And then you're totally out of our jurisdiction for it. Just thoughts.
Yeah, right. Understood.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could look for an alternate location.
Yep.
I think, there's quite a bit of slope, on the site. If you go
Yeah.
north of the 100-foot buffer,
Right.
there's a addition with some really, really big drop-offs in grade. I don't know if that affects sort of how the pool pumps,
We have to be-
they might
we-
get bigger and
Yeah.
I think we could move it, would be kind of an insignificant change if we moved it a little closer and out of the setbacks, but we still would be, have to comply with, the zoning setbacks. So I don't think the relocation to that area you wouldn't be really doing much, maybe, the scale of this plan, I don't know what it is, maybe 20 feet or something like that.
I don't know.
So I don't
but-
see much improvement in relocating it. This has probably been the condition here for over 30 years. I think if we had an attorney on our team, it might sort of be, past that time period where it is an existing condition, and you'd have to, and would probably recommend looking at it that way.
maybe.
There
but-
is no statute of limitations.
Right,
Yeah, for conservation.
right. It's an ongoing violation, which, just every day it sits there, it's another
Okay.
new day. There is no statute of
Yeah,
limitations.
I don't know
So-
enough about it to.
So I guess where I'm hearing people ending is, I'm sorry about this, this is unfortunate for your client. I know there's been multiple owners, and somehow, in the transfer of the property from owner to owner to owner, the fact that it was built without any permits was lost. And it's, they're paying the price for it, but, that's just the way that is. I'm hearing that, two things. So one is, recalculating your coverage calculations without regard to changes in the existing, so recalculating it as if it's new, so that we can make
So I
sure,
think-
and
I
that way
think
we'll
we do
double check.
actually-
Hold on, just one, that relates to the amount of mitigation, and make sure that that's in balance, and is what it needs to be. The plan I'm looking at doesn't have the coverage on it at the moment, so I can't tell. And.
It's around
the,
600, we have around 660 to 700 inside the 100 right now, currently on that plan. Square feet.
660 to 700?
Yeah, somewhere around there,
Okay.
and we actually continued native plants beyond. but
All right,
for-
and so what do you
within the-
have, what do you know about your current, your total mitigation?
And I'm not sure what will be required to, we'll just have to run the numbers
Yeah,
from whatever that proposed hardscape is up to that 100-foot.
Yeah, it's all in the outer aura, so it's 1-to-1.
1-to-1,
So
right?
you would have, roughly whatever, that same number
We're
of
pretty
figure.
close, actually.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we're probably pretty close at this point. We might be,
okay.
yeah, might be over. We're probably over already.
All right, so we have one more hearing ahead of us to double-check those figures, redo that, and see if you can move that shed out of there. It's an unpermitted structure.
I just
Go ahead.
wanted to add also, don't forget, some of that planting is not in our jurisdiction, so you can't really
No,
count.
I'm
You
only
can't
counting
count.
the
Oh,
planting
okay.
that was inside the jurisdiction.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Right, yeah, no, the only one they counted is what's in the jurisdiction. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we have the area of, what's proposed within the 50 and 100 calculated on our plans already. We just did the math on it, subtracting, so we have that number. We'll have to just make sure that our plantings, mitigate that same square footage, so we will need to, update you with that number.
Okay.
So.
Okay,
And Janet?
Yes.
I just had a question on the Japanese knotweed.
Yep.
What's the story on that? I asked about that before. You said you're gonna put together a management plan for that and maybe show on the planting plan where you were gonna manage it.
Right.
Because if you don't manage it, it's gonna end up in your new plantings.
Yeah, and we'd have to manage it really in that area, primarily in that area alone. It's probably where we're going with that. We would be doing cutting and the usage of glyphosate, as well as steady diet of cutting, seasonal cutting, multiple times per season.
And kind of leave a gap between the new plantings and the existing Japanese knotweed, so it doesn't spread
Yep.
into the new plantings.
Correct. We're looking at the opportunity to potentially do a liner if we can, to see if there'd be any effectiveness for that. We might be able to use as an edging.
Yeah.
They spread by the roots. They go under any edging you can imagine. I've done steel edging 2 feet deep, and they
Yeah.
went
Still
under.
go underneath that.
Yeah, they'll go under.
Yeah, that's
They'll-
where we're trying to go to, almost that depth if we could, and if we can't, then we'll just have to do continued cutting is really what we're finding out is the appropriate, the only.
You're
real
gonna
effective
find out
method.
it's tough to get rid of.
I know, oh, yeah, I know, that's the understatement of the day, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say, perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so what I have here is that you'll update your materials to calculate the coverage and the proposed mitigation. You'll add the management of knotweed and put that on the plan, and see if that shed can be moved out of there to another feasible area.
Okay.
Once that's done, we can talk about an order of conditions.
So, we're effectively approving this pool,
Yeah.
even though
it's new.
apparently we have no indication it was ever permitted in any way, shape, or form. So the way I look at this project now is different now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at
why
it,
we have to
would we have permitted this if it were coming before us now? And that's
Right.
why I zoomed back on this house. It's a very large dwelling. And it is, probably we would have said, well, there's no reason to put that pool in the R, because there's plenty of room
Well,
outside.
and we did ask if they would consider moving it further out of the aura or decrease the patio, and
And did they-
nothing changed.
Nothing changed, right. And so it would seem that that's something we should open the door on again, to me.
I'm good with that, because
Are you
Elise and I,
considering, is there a movement or a desire to consider the 50 to 100 a no-touch zone now? Is that,
Not necessarily, but no, the way,
is that the angle we're pushing? and is
no,
what
no,
we're
the
trying
angle,
to-
the angle we're pushing here is that when you look at the project now with fresh eyes and we're zooming back, dollying back, as it were, the house consumes a lot of space. And now to have the pool, looking at it as if we were getting this project proposed as it is here, we probably would have said, and probably would say, can you get further out of the aura, out of our jurisdiction? Before, we were looking at it as if it were replacing a long existing structure that we assumed was approved in some way or another. And now we have no reason to think that's true. So that shifts my perspective, and I think probably I'm not the only one. We did, as Karen said, discuss the possibility of shrinking the patio, which does look to be a healthy size, in order to further, what's the word?
Decrease the impact?
Well, yeah, because now it's almost like we're talking about a new structure. Well, it is like we're talking about a new structure.
It is, a new structure.
So that's where I'm coming from.
The house itself is, it's being described as large. The main body of the house is remaining the same. Very well done piece of architecture that Patrick Ahern Architects are working on. It's the same general form of what it does today. Is it getting bigger? Yes, it is. But if you were looking at the architectural plans, I think you'd be impressed. All of the garden space right behind the house is remaining the same. The walls that we're showing that have got the curves in them there, those are existing as they are today. So we were trying to work around what was existing. In fact, again, I know you'd say that the deck piece or the pool area, question about whether or not you'd approve it getting just a little bit into the 100-foot buffer. Yeah, it's easy to say that now. But there is a pool there. Again, it's the flattest area we can find on the property in that point. The terrace area that sits above replaces a gazebo that's a roof structure right now. It's a pretty good sized gazebo there. And it has a basement that's got a shed in it. So it's a full structure with concrete block that is a block, basically a block basement for a gazebo sitting above it, right where we have the fire pit now, which will all be permeable paving, permeable and softscapes. So I do think there's a lot of positives that come out of this plan over what is there today. And again, I know you might say now, of course, that you may not appreciate that pool getting, again, just a little bit into the 100-foot buffer. I know you can say it now, but even that other structure, is the gazebo structure, sits well outside the 100. We were removing that. I mean, that's really another piece of architecture we're removing and replacing with permeable paving and a small fire pit. So I do think there are a lot of positives that are coming out of this master plan, this site plan.
But that part, the gazebo or the what's now terrace fire pit, is not in our jurisdiction.
Correct.
We don't look
Correct.
at that. But if you do consider that, you have terrace, you have patio, you've got quite a bit of outdoor living space, and you have a very large pool at 40 feet long. And so you could even decrease the size of the pool a little, and it would have less impact in our jurisdictional area.
Thank you.
Just my thought.
That's my thought exactly. I mean, would it be the end of the world if to get what you want, to just reduce the size of the pool a little bit, pull the patio back some, and then it's done? That wouldn't be, I mean, it's a good sized pool.
It
right?
might depend on to what degree, that is, right? So would it be the end of the world to remove it, or excuse me, to reduce it a little bit? Oh, no, probably not, but if you're saying to reduce it to a size that's, less than 36 feet or something like that in length and narrower than 18 or something like that,
Yeah,
that would still be
36
a
is big.
pretty good, what's that again?
Yeah, 36 is a very good sized pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, an 18 by 36 is still one of the standards we use. It's, I don't know that that'd be the end of the world, no. But
And
would
what's
that
the
be-
width of the pool?
20.
Right now it's at 20 if you went down
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, 18 is usually pretty common. That's all.
I think, at least for me, I'm asking that things be considered and come back with sort of the best plan that you possibly can. And we go from there.
It is, I'll say it again, it's unfortunate for all of us that
Yeah.
we're in a situation that we have a change in reality at the last minute. So, and I agree with Bob, it does change the perspective, because we've been very focused on the fact that you were reducing coverage. And even though we look at this and go, that's a big pool and a very big patio, but at least it's reducing coverage. That calculation goes out the window. I get you're reducing what's there, but what's there is illegal. There is no statute of limitations for enforcing Wetlands Protection Act, so we're just not allowed to consider what's there anymore. So then we're back to looking at it and going, well, it's a really big pool and a really big patio. So there's nothing to balance that, so we're going to ask you to see what your client is willing to do to shrink that. And then get new coverage calculations, again, mitigation area calculations, move the shed, and put the knotweed management. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Well, that's plenty of homework right
That's a lot of homework. This is just
So made.
all right. How long do you think you need to do that? We could do it for the 24th, which would mean everything would need to be in by the 19th, a week from
Yeah, we can do
Friday,
that.
or we could do it for May 8th.
We think we could do that. I'd have to talk to Derek about whether or not they can do it, but we think, the bulk of this is on how we design it and work with our client on it, so we could do that.
Get everything by the 19th so we can schedule it for the 24th.
Okay.
All right, we will do that.
April 19th to you.
April 19th is our deadline for submission, and the hearing will be continued to the 24th.
April 24th.
Yep.
And you're putting us on first, right? Isn't that what you just said?
No guarantee.
No guarantees, but
What?
we'll consider that.
Airport.
Oh, the airport's coming that day, so.
Oh, no, please.
Would you like to go one later, go to May 1st?
Oh, my goodness, don't make us sit through that. Come on, have a heart, will you?
Well, we have.
Look at what just got hit, look at what just got hit.
All right, we'll
Okay.
see what we can do about getting you on early in
Okay,
the
I
show.
appreciate it.
All right,
Okay.
Okay.
thank you.
I move that we continue 21 Shack Lane to the meeting on April 24th, 2024 for a notice of intent.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. See you back here in 2 weeks from today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Paul.
Madam
Onward
Chair,
to the
thank you.
COCs.
Home to the COCs, 34 Scattery Road Realty Trust, map 16I, parcel 32-2, SE 10, 3576. This was a restoration, an order of conditions issued for a restoration of unauthorized vegetation removal. All work that is within the scope of this order has been regulated by SE 10 3669, a different order. Thad, I don't know if he's online, but.
Yeah,
There he
yeah,
is.
we did do that.
A little unusual, so I haven't seen it before, but thank you, Thad, for chiming in.
Okay.
Through the chair, I'll defer to you if you want to give a brief history, but I think we're all set.
Yeah, I
The
think,
application's complete. Thad submitted ongoing conditions. I checked those against the other conditions in the other order. They're the same. So the application's complete, and this seems like it was, tied up into a new order that was issued later on.
Right,
So I
right.
don't have any issues with it.
yeah, the order is clear in that it incorporates
Yep.
all of the conditions of the prior order. So just saying that issuing a certificate of completion is not going to come back to haunt us down the road if those conditions are not met, because they live in the newer order, so I don't have to, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it then, that's fine. We wouldn't be able to enforce this anyway, so. All right, with that, I think,
Yep.
move to approve.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 34 Scottery Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. That one's done. Thank you, Thad.
Rick.
Okay,
Thanks,
Paul.
Dad.
Next two.
Next on the agenda, certificate of compliance, 24 Avalon Point Road, Scott Brown, map 12L, parcel 15C, L4, DEP number SE 103297, proposed coastal bank restoration, shorefront stabilization, and minor house additions. I was on the phone with coastal engineering this morning. I wasn't involved with these. These are older. I had no concept of the history, but there were some changes, things that happened with 24 and 30. So I think it would be better if Sean, if he's on, he could explain the procedural history unless the commission's familiar with it.
Nope, nope.
All right.
Sean, I see
so it's
SIE. Sean,
convoluted.
you're
I
on.
could,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead, Sean. Sean?
Sean.
If he's not here, we'll just continue it, because.
Here he is. He's coming. He's here.
All right, there he goes. Hey, Sean.
Hello,
Hello.
for the record, Sean Riley, Ty and Bond, representing the applicant.
You're up.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. And sorry about the confusion on this one. There's actually two open orders of conditions on this property. The one that we're here for is for the stabilization of the coastal bank. The can you see this photograph?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so there was a lot of tree loss with scouring, and the proposal was to implement a fiber roll array. This is the fiber roll array installation here, and you can see this is the final product here with the fiber rolls covered, all the vegetation growing back in. We'll remove the temporary irrigation once we receive, assuming we receive a certificate of compliance for the project. The other project was for the house raise and replace. I think part of the confusion in the file is that this started out as a two-part notice of intent with a stabilization component and a couple of house additions. Partway through, the applicant decided that they weren't going to pursue the building additions. They were going to pursue a raise and replace. So the plan was replaced and submitted and approved by the commission with the additions removed from the plan, as is called out in the order of conditions, and references the 10-15-18 plan, which is the one that shows the additions being removed from the proposed site plan. So it turned into just a stabilization project that Wilkinson completed. And we've submitted photographs. There was some confusion as to whether or not an as-built were required for this. We were hoping that the images that we submitted for the file for the array would be sufficient for the as-built. These are essentially the photos that we submitted. It's in the exact location that we proposed it. And now it's all covered up with sand and vegetation.
John, if I could just add in on the as-built. In the past, I have been asked, and I've recommended to the commission that if it's a vegetation management project, an as-built, isn't really necessary if you've got up-to-date monitoring reports, photographs, and a certification from the landscape folks that it's in compliance and all the conditions that are in the order have been met. But when it comes to buildings, that's different. We usually require. So that, just to clarify for the future.
Yep. Yeah, and on this one where we've removed the buildings, it's out of this component. We will be submitting when we file in the future, as soon as our plants have lasted the 3 years on the Upland project, the other order conditions. When we file that, we will be submitting an as-built with that for the building.
Okay.
But that's not on the table right now.
Wait a minute, so there's a third order of conditions?
No, there's only two orders. There's only two orders. There is this order here for
Yep.
the stabilization work.
So-
And then the second order that we have is for the replacement of the house and pool area.
Right? What number is
And
that? Is
so-
that 3318? Which one is that?
That is,
30.
it's not in front of you now. This
Okay.
is not in front of you, so I don't want to
Okay,
confuse
so
you.
there are three. So 3297 and 3318 are both for the shoreline stabilization.
That's not even
They
what
are,
we're
but we
discussing,
haven't,
right?
I'm sorry, yes, there are three. There's one for the
Yes, no, it's
neighboring
the same.
property,
Oh, for the
one for
neighbor.
this property, and then an upland one.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
We're on the same
So
page.
you can see why I couldn't get through it.
Yeah, I do.
Yep. So we hadn't opened up the other one. So yes, there's one for 24, there's one for 30, and then there's another one for the house on 24 that will be coming in the future.
Okay, so all we're looking at today is 24 and 30 for the shoreline stabilization.
You got it.
Okay,
And this is the site plan for
That.
30 here.
yep,
Yep. So there's 24 and then 30 is along the same
Okay.
length. And then we've got
I do remember this now.
photographs for that one as well that we've submitted, which is some nice photographs, actually. You can see all the stabilization they did up on the
Oh,
bank.
look at that.
And then
That's a steep bank.
that's a steep bank. And then this is the vegetation. They did a really nice job of filling that in and getting everything to grow.
That's not quite how it
So-
looks right now, but yes, the fiber
Well,
rolls
yeah,
are exposed.
Winter dormancy.
Yep. A lot of the fiber rolls are exposed all over town, but that's the winter storms.
Yeah, and I talked to one of your customers, the applicants, and they said that they're no longer able to use the access road, the neighbors shut them off?
So, yes, so we're working with those neighbors. We're actually working with the town, with the DPW. There's an issue with the drainage on the cul-de-sac that's ended up going down that road. And just the access through there complicates things with any of the rutting or rilling that's happening. So we'll probably be coming before you with a fix for that access, drainage improvements for the access to stop the erosion that's happening. Basically, there's no drainage in the cul-de-sac up above, so we're working with the DPW right now to rectify that, and then we'll attack that road next.
Okay, because I was talking to the homeowner, we thought maybe 5-gallon buckets. Other than that, he can't go down the access road anymore, so.
There's gonna be a lot of buckets.
All right, so Paul, so this shoreline project on these two adjacent properties, is appropriate for a certificate? Now that we understand that's what we're dealing with?
As far as the shoreline protection goes, I'm still, can I read the next one just? 'cause we
Yeah.
read-
He hadn't read 30.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, you got it,
So
I'm sorry, yep.
The next one is 30 Avalon Point Road, Ken and Judith Joy, map 12L, parcel 15D-L5, DEPSC number 103318, proposed shorefront protection. So yes, they've submitted everything they need to on the shorefront protection. We agreed Crystal did, to put the ongoing conditions. As you know, we have the requirement now that the applicant submits them, but because some of this was done, back in a little while back before we got that policy going, Crystal's just going to take care of the ongoing conditions for this. But as to the rest of the application and the monitoring reports, everything, the photographs, it did take a hit in the storm, but yeah, I think it's in compliance, and I would recommend issuing it. The only question I have, Sean, is, so the minor house additions are, which one how are we doing on that?
The minor house addition has been completely removed and it's off the table now, so
All right,
that was
okay,
removed.
cool.
It was part of this one and it was removed, so
right.
that is no longer part of this order.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So to make this easy, I removed both of them, and after all the clarification that we've gotten from Sean and the review of the file and what they submitted, they are, I think, they should get a full certificate for the proposed shorefront protection on both projects.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
I move that we approve the certificate certificate of compliance for 24 Avalon Point Road and 30 Avalon. I move that we approve the certificate of
yeah.
compliance for 24 Avalon Point Road and 30 Avalon Point Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl. Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, that one's approved.
All right,
And
thank you all.
All right, thank you, Sean, yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
arriving just in
bye now.
time.
Last one,
Yep,
yippee-ki-yay.
yep.
67 Capri Lane, Minglewood Homes, map 13C, parcel CB and C10, SE10 3560. Demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling, pool patio, Title V system. The applicant's requesting a partial certificate for the dwelling, pool, and patio. And this was on at the last hearing, and we did get the as-built, and we did get the ongoing conditions. So I think we have a complete application at this point, and I would recommend approval.
Okay. Do you have anything to say about that?
No. I
Okay.
got-
Then we're good. Anybody have a question?
Question.
Yes.
First of all, I want to say the mitigation was excellent. Good
Yes,
sized
it was.
plants. I wish they were all like that. And the only other question I have is, who's responsible for the maintenance? Because you said Crawford and then someone else did it. So who's in the loop with this?
Crawford is.
Oh, Crawford,
So,
okay.
yeah, so they'll come in and do the annual maintenance, have a contract set
Oh,
up with
okay.
them for the 3 years.
That's it, thanks.
All right.
Hey, I move that we approve a partial certificate of compliance for 67 Capri Lane.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
All right, thank you very much.
You've got your
Thank
I'm sure you
partial
guys are
certificate.
ready to get home for dinner, right?
That's right. All right, we have minutes.
March 13th.
Madam Chairman?
Yeah.
If I could.
Oh,
No.
yes,
Bill Litchfield.
yes.
I'm sorry if I could. Thank you very much. Tim is too polite to ask, but the sale of this property is next week on Tuesday, and with the Monday holiday for some people, we'd like to get the package out very soon. So if we could obtain the partial certificate of compliance sooner rather than later, that would be most appreciated.
Okay, Paul and/or Crystal?
Did you hear that?
Well, Monday's a holiday, and I haven't sprung this on you, but I'm off next week, but
Do we have a form that we can sign? If you bring it down, we can sign it, and then,
Yeah,
They must have. the
and then
forms.
Crystal can issue
Yep.
it tomorrow or Friday.
I'll try to find it in Crystal's really organized stuff.
Okay.
She has it so
Thank
organized,
you
sometimes I
very,
can't
very
find
much.
anything. Okay, I'll try to come down with that.
Okay, that's, yeah,
All right.
that's the best we
Thank you,
can
Paul.
do. Thank you, Paul.
We
Yeah.
appreciate your assistance. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you,
so
Attorney
we'll
Litchfield.
Hold them. The
do you-
minutes are
do
not in
you
the
wanna
Dropbox,
state-
we're gonna hold that.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see them. Which means I didn't read them, which means,
What?
okay, so nobody read them, so we're gonna have to hold on those.
All right.
So do we vote? What, do
No.
we have to vote to
No, we don't do
to
anything.
do it
It's-
next
we don't-
time? I didn't think so. Okay.
All right, Paul, while you're looking for the form for the certificate, I just need a word with everybody here. So we have 2 on-sites to schedule. You know, I thought about polling everybody here with your availability, but it's too late and I don't really want to, it's just that my brain's not working. So if I use the dreaded doodle poll and send that to you, and ask you to indicate, you know, I'll break it up into like, you know, morning or an afternoon without making it any more specific than that. And then I'll give that to Paul, and with that, he can arrange with the reps for the 2 site visits. Will that work? Okay.
Mary's
And,
nodding yes.
okay, good. We also have 3 orders that are going to be scheduled for the next hearing on the 24th. And Karen's away, starting tomorrow until the night of the 23rd. So,
We have 62 Chase. We
yep,
have
414 Fox Hill and 16 Sea Pine. Whoever volunteers gets first pick.
I'll do one.
Okay, which one do you want? Just.
414.
You got it.
That's one, if I had taken,
Can I put a big paragraph in there about plastic?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
You can put
yeah.
anything you want. Might not make it to the end, but.
All right. Any takers for Chase Street?
Yeah.
62 Chase?
It doesn't matter to me.
That's fine. Or would you rather have 16 Sea Pine?
I don't remember them, so it doesn't matter.
Well, 16 Sea Pine's been a while.
I'll take, just pick one.
Which name do you like better?
Okay, then I'll take 62 Chase. We're good, we got it. Oh no, I shouldn't have, I deleted all of that. No. Okay, the last thing. So we can't talk about it substantively because it's not on the agenda. This is unforeseen material, stuff that's coming up. So in 2 weeks, we have the airport coming back. So two things about that. One is in order to expedite getting things finalized as much as we can, I would ask everybody to please submit any questions that you have that you do not think have been answered to your satisfaction yet. And send those to me, and then I'll help, Paul will package them together and get them out to Adrian and Mark, so that they come prepared to answer those questions once and for all. I know that many people have nagging things, so let's be as specific as we can and say, here's your last shot at getting an answer. Secondly, highly recommend that you hike down the hill to the vernal pool. And if you go from the path leading from the back of the job lot like we did before, and you head sort of straight on, it's an open area, it's a lot flatter to get to it. There's a little bit of a...
Before the fencing.
Before the fencing. There's a little bit of a down gradient, not too bad.
Sort of the right side of the vernal pool, but it's a bit flatter, but it'll allow, Jan and I.
Karen and I went there today, and it might change the way you think about some of that. That's all I'll say.
Or clarify.
No, it's clarifying. It changed some of my thinking about it, and I think it's well worth it. We're not going to do an on-site. I don't want to make Adrian and Mark drive all the way down here again. But, and you have 2 weeks, so on a nice day, hike on over there and take a look at that.
As an aside, I was able to go with Oxbow and Crystal and Paul on Monday. And, I mean, they were there a lot longer than I was. But just to let you know, they found fairy shrimp, all males. They have horns.
They're having a party.
I couldn't see them, but anyway.
We're not making any judgments about them.
They have caddis flies, they found ghost midges, but the most important, they found spotted salamander egg nests.
God, we used to be all over the place when I was a kid here.
So just so you know, we haven't gotten their report, but that was, yeah, I said caddis.
Oh, you did, okay.
And ghost midges. So, anyway, they found things, but we don't have their report yet. That's just
we'll
me
get-
saying
yeah.
in the first half hour, this is what they showed us.
Yep. Mary, what do you have?
No, I was just going to say, as I listened to the Massachusetts, whatever that seminar was, where they were talking about the MAX presentation on the importance of vernal pools. And that was one of the things that they brought up is that they can only reproduce in vernal pools.
Correct.
Right. They're unique.
And yes, and so.
All right.
So anyway.
All right, so that's it. We'll be back on the 24th. Motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you, everybody. Hanging in there for 3.5, not too bad.
So do we need to establish a dating site for fairy shrimp?
I know. They need some girls. I mean, they don't.
Don't be
Or they don't need
They don't need.